All right, we are live. Welcome. This is Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. Shut this out, shut this out, shut this out. All right, it's Friday night. Friday night in the United States, 3 p.m. Friday. It's time for the Corpus Hermeticum Part 5. Corpus Hermeticum Part 5. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Brooke. Hi, baby. I love you. Welcome, Joanne. Welcome. Share this out. Get everybody in here. Tag them, bag them, bring them in, right? My latency is going down a little bit. No, my signal's back up. All right. So it's Friday night, and we're doing the Corpus Hermeticum. Hermes Trismegistus having many conversations with the creator of the universe. And the reason that we have the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is because someone, and you can look it up in history, we're not quite sure who, someone buried the Emerald Tablets of Thoth at the feet, in between the feet, underground, in between the feet of the statue of Hermes. And that's how we found the Emerald Tablets. So many people, Egyptians and Greeks alike, believe that Hermes Trismegistus was in fact a reincarnation of Thoth the Atlantean, who, when he left, before he left, promised that he would return. And we believe that it was very possible that the soul of the god, Thoth the Atlantean, came back as Hermes Trismegistus. A lot of people believe that. We can't prove it. We can't disprove it. We don't know. Let me pull down this overlay because we don't need that up anymore, do we? There I am. Let me pull myself up in full screen. We got that ready to go over there. Okay, so it's Friday. Share this out. Get it out there for people to see. Get it out there for people to watch. We are live on Instagram. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live around the world on the MP3 broadcast, or well, that will be at Memorex. That will hit the world in 3 hours. So if you're listening on the MP4 broadcast, you're probably live. Maybe not, though. And if you're listening on the MP3 broadcast, I'm actually not live because I haven't started going live there yet. But I'm going to be working on that. We're going to be doing that pretty soon. So we'll probably be doing that and going live on YouTube and on Facebook at the same time as going live on the MP3 broadcast. So we're looking into doing just that. Okay, let me come over here into the chat and see what you guys are doing, right? Tag all those people. Tag them and bag them. It's Friday night. Let's get them in here, right? Or Saturday morning if you're where my wife is over in Australia. It's Saturday morning. She's getting ready to go to work right now. I'm watching her on another camera, on another monitor as we speak, waving at her, but you guys can't see me doing that. Unless I put my hand here so you can see me waving at my wife. Okay. And what is she doing? I think she's eating breakfast. She's typing. All right. So Corpus Hermeticum. So I backed up to the 15-minute mark there, or 1 hour and 15. Let me look at where we're at here. I backed up to the 2 hour and 14:43 for 2 hours, 14 minutes, 43 seconds. And because we stopped at about 15 or 16 minutes, so I want to back it up just a little bit, and we're going to pick it up from there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do a sound check. And I want you guys to let me know if you guys can hear this okay. Let me go back over here and put this up in a full screen, and then go over here onto YouTube and put that up in full screen. And we'll go ahead, and this is actually part 12. We're on to part 12 of the Hermetica, okay? So let me go ahead and do I think I'm a little too far away from my mouse here. Okay, and my latency, my Wi-Fi is dipping down to. So if I'm buffing, I apologize. If I'm cutting in and out, I apologize for doing that. But it'll be back in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and press play, and you guys, somebody give me a sound check. Let me know if you guys can hear things okay. All right. So let me come over here, and we'll start with the Corpus Hermeticum.
In always causing one body to change to another, they preserve the incorruptibility of identity. Otherwise, for all composite bodies, there is a number belonging to each. For without number, neither association, nor composition, nor dissolution can occur. The Henads give birth to number, increase it, and take it back to themselves after it has been dissolved. And yet the matter is one. This entire cosmos, a great God and an image of a greater united with God and helping preserve the Father's will and order, is a plenitude of life.
Thank you, Brooke, for that confirmation that we can hear it. Joanne, thank you also. And like I said, share this out. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for tagging everybody to get them in here. I apologize that for whatever reason, my Wi-Fi is kind of going up and down, up and down. Not quite sure what's going on. It's one of those days. It's Friday. It's very possible that because I live so close to military bases that who knows, the military might be running around doing something. Okay, so let's continue here, okay?
And throughout the whole recurrence of eternity that comes from the Father, there is nothing in the cosmos that does not live, neither in the whole of it nor in its parts. For there never was any dead thing in the cosmos, nor is there, nor will there be. The Father wished it to be alive as long as it holds together, and so it was necessary for the cosmos to be God. How then, my child, can there be dead things in God, in the image of all, in the plenitude of life? For deadness is corruption, and corruption is destruction. How can any part of the incorruptible be corrupted, or anything of God be destroyed? The things that live in the cosmos, Father, though they are parts of it, do they not die? Hold your tongue, child. The terminology of becoming leads you astray. They do not die, my child. As composite bodies, they are only dissolved. Dissolution is not death, but the dissolution of an alloy. They are dissolved, not to be destroyed, but to become new. And what is the energy of life? Is it not motion? In the cosmos, then, what is motionless? Nothing, my child. Does the earth not seem motionless to you, Father? No, child. It is the only thing that is full of motion and also stationary. Would it not be quite absurd if the nurse of all were motionless, she who begets everything and gives birth to it? For without motion, the begetter cannot beget anything. It is most absurd of you to ask if the fourth part is idle. That a body is motionless can signify nothing but being idle. Therefore, my child, you should know that everywhere in the cosmos, everything is moved, either by decrease or by increase. What is moved also lives, but not everything that lives needs stay the same. Taken as a whole, my child, the entire cosmos is free from change, but its parts are all subject to change. Nothing, however, is corruptible or destroyed, terms that disturb human beings. Life is not birth, but awareness, and change is forgetting, not death. Since this is so, all are immortal. Matter, life, spirit, soul, mind, of which every living thing is constituted.
Right, so you have to realize the perspective again. We were talking about this last week. Your perspective determines your reality. Your perspective is important because there you're hearing that the Creator is literally saying everything is immortal. Everything, everyone is immortal, but it changes. On a smaller level, away from the cosmos, away from the universe, away from the Creator, things change. The Creator is constant. The universe is constant. On its face, from a distance, the universe stays the same. The galaxy, Milky Way galaxy, is a constant. On its face, it seems to stay the same. Solar system that we're in here, the solar system, seems to stay the same. From a distance, it's the same. The Earth, again, from a distance, it's the same. As you get closer and closer to an item and you inspect it more and more, you see that there are subtle changes. Same with us. From a distance, we as a society looks the same. Over time, we see changes. The closer you look at society, the more you see that it's a bunch of people running around. We look like an ant race till you get closer, right? So the more you inspect something, the closer you get to it, the more you focus on it, the more you realize that it is ever changing. So the universe itself, even though we look out at the universe and we see the stars and they're in the same places in the heavens, the same places in the sky at the same times of year, and they move through the sky because we're rotating. That's how they started realizing that we're moving, is that because they would appear in different places, like the moon is going around the earth. But if you look at the calendar, the moon comes up at different times and goes down at different times. Okay, so over the course of the year, even though the moon is in a fixed orbit, it goes up and down at different times. Meaning, like for instance, in Australia, the full moon was out during the daytime. It was not out during the daytime in the North American continent here in California. The moon would come up at night and I would see the full moon. Then I would be talking to Brooke, who would go outside, and she would see it still at night, but also during the day. Okay, because it was in a different place on the planet. So depending on where you are, the moon is still in a fixed orbit, but depending on where you are, you're going to see it different. So perspective gives us a window into change. Focus, and the more we look at something, gives us the perspective of change. From a distance, things don't. Why is that important? Because it's important to yourself. You, when you just look at yourself on face value, you don't think that you're changing much in a spiritual way. Physically, you see yourself change, but sometimes we don't even notice that either. You're working out, you're dieting, whatever you're doing, you don't think that you see any change in yourself unless you journal, unless you take a snapshot in time. See what I looked like before I started working out. And as I'm working out, I can see the changes as I take different snapshots at 3-month increments or 6-month increments, whatever. Same thing with your spirituality. That's why we have people journal. So unless you look at a thing, you can't truly know that thing. But when you look at that thing, it changes that thing. Science has actually figured that out and proved that. You can look at subatomic particles, but when you look at the subatomic particles, it changes the course and direction of those subatomic particles, because when you're looking at it, it's energy being introduced into it for you to illuminate it, to see it. Same thing happens with you internally, your spirituality, yourself. When you start looking at yourself through the eyes of other people, then you're going to see what other people see. And if you're honest with yourself, then you're not going to, because we all see each other as we are, what we think people see us as. We don't know what other people see us as unless they talk to us and tell us what they see or how they see things. Okay? So you have to realize that when you do that, your perspective is what is going to change you. Because if you want to change, you want to be change in the universe or change in the world, or you want to change, you have to see what other people see in you, or what they're looking at. For the same reason, for some people, they have low self-esteem and they don't believe that they're good for anything, but yet other people look at them and see the potential. What is it that you're missing about yourself that these people see potential in you? You have to identify these things and have this ability. We have to do that as a society. We have to do that as a species. We have to do that as a solar system. We have to do that as a galaxy. We have to do that as a universe. But we have to start with the individual. This is why people like Mahatma Gandhi and others around the world said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Okay? There's a reason that those people said those things around the world. Be the change you wish to see. Why? Because if you change yourself, by being honest with yourself, you're going to change other people around you, because you're changing yourself, and that's going to inspire people because they're going to see that. Become aware of what people see you as. So perspective. The universe is everlasting. Know that it is everlasting. But on its parts, small parts, are constantly changing. But you can't see that from a distance. So you look at things under a microscope, even yourself. This is the lesson that is being taught here in the Hermetica. Let's go back over here to full screen and we'll continue.
Through mind, then, every living thing is immortal, but most of all mankind, who is capable of receiving God and fit to keep company with him. With this living thing alone does God converse, at night through dreams and through omens by day, and through all of them he foretells the future, through birds, through entrails, through inspiration, through the oak tree, whereby mankind also professes to know what has been, what is at hand, and what will be. And notice this, my child, that each living thing frequents one part of the cosmos. Water for those that live in the water, earth for those that dwell on land, air for those that float above. But mankind uses them all: earth, water, air, fire. He even sees heaven, which he grasps by sensing it. And God, who is energy and power, surrounds everything and permeates everything, and understanding of God.
Hi to everybody that came in. I see my brother there, Jeff. Welcome. Who all came in? I didn't say hello. I'm sorry, I was too busy looking at what we were talking about. Denise, welcome. Jeff, welcome. Who else is here? Peter, welcome. Hi, guys. I didn't say hello to you. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's continue with the Corpus Hermeticum. And the lesson is, like I said, look within, look at yourself, see yourself as other people see you. This is what God is saying. The creation is everlasting. It's immortal. The universe is immortal. The galaxy is immortal, right? The planet is immortal. It will be here until something destroys it later in the future. But from a distance, it appears to be that it doesn't change. The same thing with us. So if you're only seeing yourself from the perspective of distance instead of looking at yourself through the eyes of a microscope or through the eyes of what other people are looking at you and being honest with yourself and seeing what they see. Woo Riders, what's up? Welcome. Been a couple of weeks, I think, since I saw you on the live. Welcome. So you have to realize that you have to see yourself from the perspective of other people so that you can then get an introspective into yourself and make the changes that you need to be what you want to be in life. So perspective, again, is the lesson here that God is teaching Hermes. Let's continue.
Is nothing difficult, my child. If you wish also to gaze upon him, look at the order of the cosmos and the careful arrangement of this order. Look at the necessity of the heavenly phenomena and the providence in what has come to be and what comes to be. Look at matter, completely full of life, and a great God moving along with all beings good and fair, gods and demons and humans. But these are energies, Father. If they are entirely energies, my child, by whom are they energized? By anyone other than God? Or do you not know that, just as the parts of the cosmos are heaven, water, earth, and air, likewise the limbs of God are life, immortality, fate, necessity, providence, nature, soul, and mind, and that the permanence of them all is called the good? In what comes to be and has come to be, there is nothing where God is not, nothing beyond him. Is he in matter then, Father? If matter is apart from God, my son, what sort of place would you allot to it? If it is not energized, do you suppose it is anything but a heap? But who energizes it, if it is energized? We have said that the energies are parts of God. By whom, then, are all living things made alive? By whom are immortals made immortal? Things subject to change, by whom are they changed? Whether you say matter or body or essence, know that these also are energies of God, and that materiality is the energy of matter, corporeality the energy of bodies, and essentiality the energy of essence. And this is God, the All. But in the All there is nothing that he is not. Hence neither magnitude nor place nor quality nor figure nor time has any bearing on God. For God is all, and the All permeates everything and surrounds everything. Show this discourse reverence, my child, and keep it religiously. There is but one religion of God, and that is not to be evil.
Okay, so then we're going to go into chapter 13. Okay, so welcome, Stephanie. Welcome, welcome. All right, like I said, share this out, share this out. Share this out, share this out, share this out. Friday night from America. The Corpus Hermeticum. All right, let's go right into chapter 13, shall we? Without any ado.
A Chewy order is on the way for
Skip this. Okay, there we go.
13. A secret dialogue of Hermes Trismegistus on the mountain to his son Tat, on being born again and on the promise to be silent. My father, you spoke indistinctly and in riddles when talking about divinity in the general discourses. Claiming that no one can be saved before being born again, you offered no revelation. But after you talked with me coming down from the mountain, I became your suppliant and asked to learn the discourse on being born again, since, of all the discourses, this one alone I do not know. And you said you would deliver it to me when you were about to become a stranger to the cosmos. I have prepared myself, and I have steeled my purpose against the deceit of the cosmos. Grant me what I need, and give me, whether aloud or in secret, the discourse on being born again that you said you would deliver. I do not know what sort of womb mankind was born from, O Trismegistus, nor from what kind of seed. My child, the womb is the wisdom of understanding in silence, and the seed is the true good. Who sows the seed, Father? I am entirely at a loss. The will of God, my child. And whence comes the begotten, Father? He does not share in my essence. The begotten will be of a different kind, a God and a child of God, the all in all, composed entirely of the powers. You tell me a riddle, Father. You do not speak as a father to a son. Such a lineage cannot be taught, my child, but God reminds you of it when he wishes. Father, what you tell me is impossible and contrived, and so I want to respond to it straightforwardly. I have been born a son strange to his father's lineage. Do not begrudge me, Father. I am your lawful son. Tell me clearly the way to be born again. What can I say, my child? I have nothing to tell except this. Seeing within me an unfabricated vision that came from the mercy of God, I went out of myself into an immortal body, and now I am not what I was before. I have been born in mind. This thing cannot be taught, nor can it be seen through any elementary fabrication that we use here below.
Okay, so today they use the vernacular born again for those who become baptized or those who become devoted to God or Jesus. That's not actually what the born again meant originally, but people use that now when they devote themselves and they say they're born again, like born again Christian. They're baptized or they're devoting themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's devotion. But that's not here what Hermes is teaching to Tet. It's not what that means. Okay, the being born again is starting to pierce the veil. And if you pierce the veil completely, then you are born again. Jesus talked about that. Jesus wasn't saying baptism makes you born again. He never said that. Nor did John when John was baptizing people. Being baptized was your creed, was your promise that you are in service to others, not in service to self, and that you are wanting to serve, and you're wanting the knowledge, you're wanting to help others. So that is your creed. That is something that you choose, but it's not being born again. So just because you're having water put on you and blessed by that, anointing you, doesn't mean that you're born again, though they use that term now in that respect, but that's not what it means. Okay? So what it means is literally this is what he's describing. Changing so drastically. However, trust me now, being baptized does change you in a crazy way. I don't think that people should be baptized as infants. And if they are, they should be baptized again as an adult. The reason I say that is I was baptized as an adult, and to realize what happens to be able to experience that and understand that, and the change that does make in you is something that people should witness when they're old enough to actually remember it. I think that there's something that could be done. People could be blessed and you could do a baptism, but the true baptism has to be a choice, and it has to be done properly. And when you do, that changes and does awaken you in a way that makes you more so closer to real born again, because it will change your life, and it will change your life forever. It will change your life forever in a way. Sorry, I'm over here on camera looking at my wife. She has to go to work, and so she just got to work, and she was telling me she loves me, and I apologize for looking at the camera off to the side of the monitor here and saying I love you to my wife. Okay, so she just got to work, and so she was going into work, telling me that she loves me because she was listening to the show and watching me while she was doing so. Okay, so the born again is the illumination. Okay. The born again is the illumination, this which Hermes is teaching to his son. And that's why he said it was something that I was taken out of body and brought up before the Lord. I was taken out of body and brought to a different place. And when I came back, I truly can't explain to you what happens. The true baptism as an adult is the act of being born again. Completely changes you for the rest of your life. Unless you're lying and you're not devoting yourself to the Creator. Creator knows that. You're not rewarded by that. So that portion, and this is why I say the baptism being used that way, if they're teaching it right and making you understand and going through just the ramifications of what's happening, and then you have this baptism, it is intense. It is something that you cannot describe to anyone else. That's the true being born again. That's the true born again. So it's not just a baptism. It's the choice of you choosing to devote yourself to the Creator, the choice of being in service to others, being honest with yourself and actually making that choice. And then you're anointed and you're blessed by holy water, and that will change your soul. Okay? So when I spoke and said that, I didn't want anybody to think that I meant no baptism counts. That's why I took the time here to explain that. And that's why I think, because there's so much that goes on for kids when they're young and they don't understand what's happening, and they're just going through the motions, or infants, they have no idea what's happening. Then none whatsoever. I think it's okay to do that if you're worried that they're for some reason they're some superstition or something, that you're worried that their soul is going to be in jeopardy, and if they die without being blessed, then baptized, then they won't go to heaven. Because some people believe that, because some churches and some religions used to teach that, and some still do. That if you don't have that happen to you, then your soul is in jeopardy, and somebody could come and get it, or whatever. Okay, but I think that was more of a control mechanism than anything else, because if the infant's not going to remember unless they're born awake, and by that I mean unveiled, then they won't remember the baptism anyways. And that is a shame, because to go through it as an older person, I was in my my 30s. I'd have even been 40 by that time. Let me think. Yeah, I would have been in my 30s, because I turned 40 in 2007. I was baptized in 2004. So I was in my late 30s when I decided to get baptized, and I waited until then. I say that people need to be above the age of 7 or 8 so that they will remember that for the rest of their life. When adults do it, it counts more. When adults do it, it means more to them. And I've noticed that in every church that I've ever been through, in any religion, when they have a baptism and the people go through that devotion and baptism as an adult, it changes them way more than it does when children do it, because they don't understand what's happening. Okay. Yeah, right. Denise said baptism, then they should be then should be for adults to fully understand. So I think that if you want to do it, Denise said that, and I agree with that. I think if they want to do it, if you want to do it to your children or your grandchildren or whatever, just because you're worried that their soul's in jeopardy unless they're baptized, do it by all means. But I also think you should have them be able to experience that with their free will and choice as a either adolescent or a teen or an adult, when they're at an age where you know they're going to remember it for the rest of their life, because it becomes so much more intense when you actually understand, like Denise said, when you actually fully understand what your choice is and what you're doing by devoting yourself and that and the like. It changes you in a way that I can't even describe to you. And I was born awake, and it was still something that was very, very intense. The most intense spiritual experience I have ever had in this lifetime was the baptism. And I was born awake. I was born unveiled. Okay, let's continue. Let me go back over here. Wait a minute. Let's put this up in a full screen. And let's continue.
Therefore, the initial form, even of my own constitution, is of no concern. Color, touch, or size I no longer have.
That's actually a good question, Denise. In some churches, they'll say there's only one baptism. But I witnessed that exact thing when I was, so the Catholic Church is where I got baptized, Roman Catholic Church. When I was there were people that asked that question because some people came from another Christian religion where they had already been baptized. And they said, they asked that question. One, do I need to be baptized again? And two, can I? I was baptized as a child. Some of them actually said that. I was baptized as a child, and now I'm trying to, devote myself as a Catholic. And then to do that, you have to go through their RCIA program, which is rite of Christian initiation, which takes a year and a day for you to go to school and learn things 1 day a week for like an hour or 2 hours or something like that. It's a couple hours a week, 1 day. And it takes a whole year and 1 day. At the end of that, they baptize people. I think it's on Easter or right after that. It's a certain time right around Easter. I think it's Easter when you get baptized. So it's the beginning, right? Because Easter is the resurrection. So it's your resurrection at the same time. So every single one of those people who chose to do that said it was the most intense thing they had gone through. So I can't speak, Denise, to answer your question. I can't speak for all of the Christian religions. I can speak for the Catholic version, and they were allowing it, at least here in the United States. They were allowing you to, yes, you can go through that and be baptized again if you feel that you need to. And I'm pretty sure that most Christian churches will agree to that, unless it's like you're getting baptized once a month or something, or every year. But if you're trying to redevote yourself, and they'll honor that because you're trying to redevote yourself to God and you want to go through that and you want to be baptized. If they tell you no, I would suggest find another church, right? Whatever that religion is that's Christian. If they say we just don't do that because there is only one baptism and they're adamant about that, go to another one. There's at least 5 or 7 or 10,000 Christian churches around the United States alone, different actual Orthodox religions. But most of them will honor that because they know that you're trying to devote yourself again. They're not going to deny you that because of who they are. Okay. But yeah, I would say if you want to do it because when I did it through the Roman Catholic Church, I decided to do it that way because of that year and a day that you have to go to school and you have to learn and you have to fit, you know what I mean? So it becomes far more for you than for them to go, well, we're doing a baptism in an hour. You want to come in? You know what I mean? So there's this time period of things that you build up to and you learn about, and this ritual. And they would dress us in the literally dress up as a monk with the brown, burlap or whatever it's made out of. I think it's made out of felt. And then you have the white rope tied around you as the initiate. And then you come in, you have clothes underneath it. Usually you're wearing like a bathing suit or shorts or something because you're going to get in the font. In the Catholic religion, you get in the font. You don't just have somebody throw water at you and do that. You actually climb in there and they immerse you. And most of the Christian faiths that I've seen around the United States do the same. They have an actual pool that you climb in. So you get in there in that robe, you get in there with that on, and with your bathing suit underneath it, and then they immerse you in water and they baptize you. And that would be the most intense thing that you'll ever go through if you truly are devoting yourself and you're going through the process. Now, I don't know in all the other religions how long the processes are, but I know that they're not just instantaneous either, that they make you wait a while before you can do it. So they're also trying to build up and let you understand that. And then when you get done, then you go and you already have brought in clothes to change into. You go in the back in the sacristy and you dry yourself off. And all of you that are doing that, you do that, men in one room, women in the other. Dry yourself off, change your clothes, and put on new clothes. Then they put you in a white robe because now you're purified. And then you come back out in a white robe and then present yourself to the congregation as a born-again Christian. And that is the true born again at that point. When children do it, I don't believe that they fully understand what is happening. And that's why I think that it should be something that you do as a ceremony so that you can protect their soul if you're worried that their soul is in jeopardy if it's not baptized. And then as an adult, or at least in an age where 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe a little bit above that you will then say they'll remember this for the rest of their lives, and have them go through that with an adult, with them so that they can understand what exactly it is that they're doing. But as an adult, Denise, if you want to do that, I would suggest doing it, because my God, I cannot express enough to you what the experience is like to have done. And anybody out there listening to my voice, if you were ever baptized as a child and you don't remember it, you need to talk to your parish priest, your padre, your rabbi, your minister, whatever they call themselves, your deacon, whatever they call themselves in the religion that you're in, and tell them that you want to go and redevote yourself to God, and you want to go through the process to do that, to be baptized. And even if they try to talk you out of it, tell them, I need to do this as an adult because I don't remember it because I was a child, and go through that process and listen and learn, and then have that experience, because you will never be the same. You will never be the same. It must have taken me 6 months before I felt like I was grounded again in the matrix after having that happen. And remember, I was born unveiled. I know what's going on in the universe, and I still was uplifted that much by that process and the baptism. It was incredible. And everyone I've ever talked to who's gone through that as an adult went, this is like the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. It's changed my life so much. That's truly the born again. And you know the difference when somebody is born again, because it changes their devotion, it changes their life. Okay, let's go back over here and go into full screen here, and we'll take a look at that. So whatever religion you are, there's a baptism. Right? It doesn't matter the religion, they all have them, because it is that ritualistic thing that they do for the devotion. So it doesn't matter whether you're Hebrew, it doesn't matter whether there's Muslim, there's still the baptism. They all have them. I think even Satanism has a baptism. Okay, let's continue.
I am a stranger to them. Now you see me with your eyes, my child, but by gazing with bodily sight, you do not understand what I am. I am not seen with such eyes, my child. You have driven me quite mad, Father, and you have deranged my heart. Now I do not see myself. My child, would that you, without sleep, had also passed out of yourself like those who dream in sleep. Tell me this especially. Who is the progenitor of rebirth? The child of God, primal man, by God's will. Whatever remains, Father, you have now made me speechless, bereft of what was in my heart before. I see that your size and its external aspect remain the same. And in this you are deceived. For my mortal form changes daily, altered in time toward increase and decrease, as a deception. What is the true, then, Trismegistus? The unsullied, my child, the unlimited, the colorless, the figureless, the indifferent, the naked seeming, the self-apprehended, the immutable good, the incorporeal. In reality, Father, I have gone mad. Though I expected that you would make me wise, the awareness of this understanding in me has been blocked. So it has, my child. What rises up like fire, falls down like earth, is moist like water, and diffuses like air, is subject to sensation. On the other hand, if something is not hard, not moist, not tight, not volatile, how can you understand it through the senses? Something understood only through its power and energy, yet requiring one empowered to understand the birth in God. Am I without the power then, Father? May it not be so, my child. Draw it to you, and it will come. Wish it, and it happens. Leave the senses of the body idle, and the birth of divinity will begin. Cleanse yourself of the irrational torments of matter. Do I have tormentors in me, Father?
See, now here, this lesson that he's talking about here is living in the flesh or living in the spirit. Okay? Throw off those practices, those attitudes of living in the flesh, eating of the tree of life. And so he's saying, get rid of all of that and devote yourself in a spiritual way to your higher self, to the Creator. Do you see? So here we're talking about the difference between being self-serving, living in the flesh, and being in service, living in the spirit, in the spiritual. And he's trying to make him understand that, but he's trying to do it in a 3D way, so that he will get it, because he's not awake. So if you don't explain it like I'm explaining it to you, you have to figure out how to explain it. And so he's trying to explain it to him now. And let's watch, and he'll probably go into more details. But that's what he's saying. Don't be self-service. Don't be in service to self. And be nicer to people, but you have to first be nice to yourself, and you have to be devoted to others. And then you too will gain this knowledge. You too will unlock this knowledge. So he's showing, here's Hermes, thousands of years ago, saying what people like me say today, that true enlightenment is universal, that you become enlightened, illuminated, wiser, and learn things. That is those things that we can all learn when we are in service to others, that we all learn the same things. And he's telling his son that. And so now he's explaining to his son how that process works. Let me go back over here, and we'll go and continue.
More than a few, my child. They are many and frightful. I am ignorant of them, Father. This ignorance, my child, is the first torment.
See, now here, just exactly why I stopped before and was saying that. See yourself through the eyes of others and how they see you, not how you see yourself. So he was saying, you have many of these torments. And he was saying, but I'm ignorant to them. I don't see them. And he's going, right, because, and that's where the lesson is, because you're seeing yourself for who you think you are, not for who you actually are. So he's being subjective, not objective with himself. He's not being honest. If you're not being honest with yourself, you're not going to see your own flaws. You're going to think that you're okay. You're going to think that people see you the way you want them to see you. That doesn't necessarily ever mean they're going to see you the way that you think they see you. You have to talk to people and learn how they see you, and ask people questions or listen to the way they speak to you to figure out how they see you. And if they see you better than you think you are, you might have to ask yourself, why do they see me better than what I think I am? If they see you worse than what you think you are, same thing, and probably more important, to wonder why it is that they see me in that light when I don't see myself that way. What am I doing that's having all these people see me that way? What am I not seeing? And this is where Hermes is using this to teach, saying, no, you have a lot of things. And he's saying, I don't see what you're talking about. Okay, let's continue.
The second is grief. The third is incontinence. The fourth, lust. The fifth, injustice, the sixth, greed, the seventh, deceit, the eighth, envy, the ninth, treachery, the 10th, anger, the 11th, recklessness, the 12th, malice. These are 12 in number, but under them are many more besides, my child.
Welcome, Reese. Welcome, brother. Namaste. Okay, let's continue here.
And they use the prison of the body to torture the inward person with the sufferings of sense. Yet they withdraw, if not all at once, from one to whom God has shown mercy. And this is the basis of rebirth, the means and method. From here on, my child, keep silence and say nothing. If you do so, you will not obstruct the mercy that comes to us from God. Henceforth, my child, rejoice. The powers of God purify you anew for articulation of the word. To us has come knowledge of God, and when it comes, my child, ignorance has been expelled. To us has come knowledge of joy, and when it arrives, grief will fly off to those who give way to it. The power that I summon after joy is continence. O sweetest power, let us receive her too most gladly, child. As soon as she arrives, how she has repulsed incontinence. Now, in fourth place, I summon perseverance.
See, so now what you're seeing happening is the opposite of the negatives, right? So that becomes very apparent quickly. The opposite of the negatives. What you're lacking, you wish to change. So what do? You add those things in the positive light. So now we're looking at affirmations, right? So you're supposed to be, first of all, objective with yourself and realize that these specific 12 items are what most people run into anyways. They have a number of things that would be attached to them. So you look at those things in yourself and say, where is it that these 12 words, what they mean, what they do, and what they rule of me as archetypes? Like we have the 7 chakras and the 7 major archetypes, right? But now we're looking at 12. Why the number 12? The number 12, you should look up the number 12 and see about that if you don't know what the ramifications of that is. Like the 12 tribes of Israel and things like that. There's a lot of 12s. The universe is the math of the universe is not in 10s, it's in 12s. So you have these 12 factors that govern a lot of these things in you, and they're negative. So you have to get all the negative out. It's not just 12 of them, but that's why he's saying they cover a lot of areas. Those main things, incontinence and that sort of stuff, greed, suffering, those things can creep into us and we don't realize that they're there. So if you look at those words and say what falls under that category and how is that affecting me, myself, now what is it that we want to replace those negative things with? Well, the positive, the opposite reaction, the complete equal opposite. Incontinence becomes continence. And the cat is behind the camera, knocking the camera over by rubbing on it and messing up my camera. So let me fix that. She climbed up on the table and I didn't shoo her down and she just rubbed on my camera and knocked it over. Now she's trying to climb over here and walk in front of the camera and get on the laptop. I'll be putting the cat down in a moment. Okay, so here again, you have to see that it's the choice of what you're doing. This is the secret now. So the secret comes out in the 1990s and they say, identify those markers in you, identify those things that are negative energies. Hold on, I got to get the cat out of here because now she's still trying to come over here and climb on the keyboard. Identify those things in your body that is negative, that are negative from society that you have taken upon yourself. This is the secret. So in the 1990s, in the United States, they come up with this idea that they're talking about calling the secret, and they have these movies and they have these seminars in there, and that is identifying these factors. And if you look at the secret, you'll find that all they're doing is taking what Hermes literally said in this chapter 13 to his son and applying it and taking it out to the people, and they act like they have the secret to the universe. Well, it is the secret to the universe because not everybody knows about it, but everyone knew about it at one time. Hermes was teaching it to his son thousands of years ago. Okay. So they knew about it on this earth all the time, that you need to identify those things in you that are causing you strife, that are causing you depression, that are causing you to be and act in a certain way that's negative energies because of negative things that have been said to you, done to you in your life that are affecting you from this matrix itself, other people that are negative and things like that. You need to identify all of those factors and then remove that negative from inside your mind, inside your psyche, inside your id, inside your beingness, and replace it with its opposite, the positive. People were paying a lot of money in the 1990s to learn this, and they could have read the Corpus Hermeticum, and it would have been in there. Not just in there, in many other forms in the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Muslim in the Quran. All over the world, in every religion, there's a form of this that is out there that is explaining this to you. I know because I've studied this my entire life. It's out there in every religion, yet it's not being taught. Why? Because it actually works, and they don't want you to do it, because if you do, then you'll start looking at them in a different light, and you will take their power away from them, and we won't need money. We won't have greed. We won't have power. All these evil people who are lording everything over everybody around the world won't be able to do that anymore, because people will not need them to do it. People will not let them do it. The first thing you need to do is identify these markers within yourself, change them about yourself, right? Joanne says, I have my hands free again. I can now comment. Yay! I love that. Okay. Well, welcome back to commenting, Joanne. So we have to look within ourselves and be objective with ourselves. And this is what Hermes is teaching his son. We have to be objective. And we have to then say, I'm not as perfect as I think I am. How about I take a look at and be honest with myself about what other people and how they see me? Now, am I betraying myself wrong to them, and that I'm truly like this and they're not getting that? That's just as possible. But it's also just as possible that you're not getting it and they're seeing you for who they believe everyone believes so that you are. So if you look around and you talk to people independently and you start finding out things about yourself, you start doing that, and it all seems to be the same, then you have an issue, because the issue is they're all noticing things about you that you're not noticing. What is it? No one's perfect. We're all not perfect. So we all have room to grow. And if you don't think you have room to grow, you're lying to yourself. Because the only people who don't have room to grow in the minds of most people down here is the Creator. But the fact that this place even exists, and that we're fallible, that we're not infallible, that we're fallible, and that we're having these experiences, would bore the Creator if the Creator was perfect. Because the Creator would then be going, yeah, if I wasn't perfect, I would act like that. That's not what's happening. The Creator believes that the Creator itself can evolve and wants to have all of these experiences to know what it's like, because the Creator didn't have them. So we're doing something down here that the Creator can't do. You have to understand that. You're having experiences that the immortal, all-seeing, all-knowing, all-loving, all-caring, whatever you want to call the Creator of the universe, never experienced. And even if the Creator did experience it, it didn't experience it the way that we're all individually experiencing it. So the creation created the scenario so that we could be in it, so that we had free will, so that we could then do anything that we want and have any experience that we want, because the Creator is having those experiences as well. Okay, but it all starts with you identifying who you and what you are, not just by who and what you think you are, but who and what other people see you as. And then who you want to have them see you as, and what you need to do to get them to see you the way you either see yourself or want to see yourself. The only way you can do that is you have to make changes in you, not them. People try to change other people and convince them that I'm a certain way, but yet they see me not that way. So if that's the case, then obviously you're not that way. You're fooling yourself to make you believe, to tell yourself it's them. They're just not seeing me. That's happening right now in the United States with the Democratic Party. The people of the United States voted them out of power, and they said, we just gave them we didn't give them who we are the right way. We just have to come up with a better way of telling them and showing them who we are. They've been doing that ever since January now, trying to do that. And they're not realizing that's because people are seeing them not for who they think they are, or who they want everybody to, how they want everybody to see them. They're seeing them in a different light. And instead of admitting to themselves, we're not what we think we are, because no one is seeing us that way. They're saying they just don't understand what we're telling them. We have to come up with a way of telling them who we are. And that keeps failing because none of the things that they're coming up with are who they are. And it's not who the people see. The Republicans went through that as well, going through the 1980s into the 1990s and into the 2000s. And they refused as well. And it took them until the 2000s to start changing those things. Then you had the Bushes that got elected. But right after that, you had Obama for 12 years, right? So then it went back and forth. We had 1 year, one term of Trump, 1 term of Biden, now 1 term of Trump. So now it's, what is that? That's both of those parties trying to figure themselves out, how they fit in the society these days, because they're going by this way things were in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s, and 80s. It's not that way anymore. The people are doing the same thing, and that's why they're throwing one out and bringing in another one, and then throwing that one out and bringing in another one. So instead of going 4 years, 8 years, 8 years, 8 years, 8 years back and forth, it's just 4 years now. It's 1 term, 1 term, 1 term. That's happening all over the world where you're having that. Why? Because the people are evolving and the politicians aren't. So they keep throwing out the politician, bringing in another one in hopes that they're going to change. And eventually they're going to have to change, because eventually someone's going to make a change, slight one, and they're going to stay in power, and the other people are not going to have power, and they're going to have to figure out themselves to get back in power. And it's getting to the point where people can't be lied to anymore as much. Why? Because people have changed within themselves those things that were negative, and they're becoming more positive because they're becoming objective with themselves, not fooling themselves. And because of that, Penny, welcome. And because of that, that's changing them and uplifting their energy and other people around them. And people are now seeing more of these people that are negative for who they truly are, even if they can't see it. And this is what Hermes is trying to teach his son right now.
The power opposed to lust. This next level, my child, is the seat of justice. See how she has expelled injustice without a judgment. With injustice gone, my child, we have been made just. The 6th power that I summon to us is the one opposed to greed, liberality. And when greed has departed, I summon another, truth, who puts deceit to flight. And truth arrives. See how the good has been fulfilled, my child, when truth arrives. For envy has withdrawn from us, but the good, together with life and light, has followed after truth, and no torment any longer attacks from the darkness. Vanquished, they have flown away in a flapping of wings. My child, you have come to know the means of rebirth. The arrival of the decad sets in order a birth of mind that expels the 12. We have been divinized by this birth. Therefore, whoever through mercy has attained this godly birth and has forsaken bodily sensation recognizes himself as constituted of the intelligibles and rejoices. Since God has made me tranquil, Father, I no longer picture things with the sight of my eyes, but with the mental energy that comes through the powers. I am in heaven, in earth, in water, in air. I am in animals and in plants, in the womb, before the womb, after the womb, everywhere. But tell me this also, how is it that the torments of darkness, 12 in number, are repulsed by 10 powers? By what means, Trismegistus? This tent, from which we also have passed, my child, was constituted from the zodiacal circle, which was in turn constituted of entities that are 12 in number, one in nature, omniform, in appearance. To mankind's confusion, there are disjunctions among the 12, my child, though they are unified when they act. Recklessness is not separable from anger. They are indistinguishable. Strictly speaking, then, it is likely that the 12 retreat when the 10 powers, the decad, that is, drive them away. The decad engenders soul, my child. Life and light are unified when the number of the henad of spirit is begotten. Logically, then, the henad contains the decad, and the decad the henad. Father, I see the universe and I see myself in mind. This, my child, is rebirth. No longer picturing things in 3 bodily dimensions. Through this discourse on being born again that I have noted down for you alone, to avoid casting it all before the mob, but to give it to those whom God himself wishes. Tell me, Father, does this body constituted of powers ever succumb to dissolution? Hold your tongue. Do not give voice to the impossible, else you will do wrong and your mind's eye will be profaned. The sensible body of nature is far removed from essential generation. One can be dissolved, but the other is indissoluble. One is mortal, the other immortal. Do you not know that you have been born a god and a child of the One, as I too have? Father, I would like to hear the praise in the hymn which you said I should hear from the powers once I had entered the Ogdoad, just as Poimandrus foretold of the Ogdoad. That you hasten to strike the tent is good, child, for you have been purified. Poimandrus, the mind of sovereignty, has transmitted to me no more than has been written down, knowing that on my own I would be able to understand everything, to hear what I want, and to see everything. And he entrusted it to me to make something beautiful of it. Thus the powers within me sing in all things as well. I want to hear them, Father, and I wish to understand them. Be still, my child. Now hear a well-tuned hymn of praise, the hymn of rebirth. To divulge it was no easy choice for me, except that I do it for you at the end of everything. Hence it cannot be taught. It is a secret kept in silence. Therefore, my child, stand in the open air, face the south wind when the setting sun descends, and bow down in adoration. When the sun returns, bow likewise toward the east. Be still, child. Singing the secret hymn. Formula 4. Let every nature in the cosmos attend the hearing of the hymn. Open, O earth. Let every lock that bars the torrent open to me. Trees be not shaken. I am about to sing a hymn to the Lord of creation, to the universe, and to the One. Open, you heavens, and be still, you winds. Let God's immortal circle attend my discourse. For I am about to sing a hymn to the One who created everything, who fixed the earth in place, who hung heaven above, who ordered the sweet water away from the ocean and toward land, the habitable and the uninhabitable, as the means of mankind's nourishment and creation, who ordered fire to shine on gods and humans for their every use. Together let us praise him, raised high above the heavens, creator of all nature. He is the mind's eye. May he accept praise from my powers. Powers within me, sing a hymn to the One and the universe. Sing together, all you powers within me, for I wish it. Holy knowledge, you enlightened me. Through you, hymning the intellectual light, I take joy in the joy of mind. Join me, all you powers, and sing the hymn. You also, continents, sing me the hymn. My justice, through me, hymn the just. My liberality through me, him the universe. Truth, him the truth. Good, him the good. Life and light, praise passes from you and to you. I thank you, Father, energy of the powers. I thank you, God, power of my energies. Through me your word hymns you. Through me, O universe, accept a speech offering by my word. This is what the powers within me shout. They hymn the universe. They accomplish what you wish. Your counsel goes forth from you, and to you the universe returns. Accept a speech offering from all things. Life, preserve the universe within us. Light, enlighten it. God, spiritualize it. For you, O mind, are a shepherd to your word. O spirit bearer, O craftsman. You are God. Your man shouts this through fire, through air, through earth, through water, through spirit, through your creatures. From your eternity I have won praise, and in your counsel I have found the rest I seek. I have seen as you wished it. This praise that you have told, Father, I have also established in my cosmos. Say, in the intellectual cosmos, child. In the intellectual cosmos, Father. I have the power. Your hymn and your praise have fully illuminated my mind. I too wish to send praise to God from my own heart. Be not heedless, my child. I say what I see in my mind, Father. To you, God, genarch of progeneration, I, Tat, send speech offerings. God, you, Father, you, Lord, you, mind, accept from me what speech you want, for everything is accomplished by your willing it. My child, send an acceptable sacrifice to God, the Father of all, but also add, through the Word. I thank you, Father, for approving the prayers that I have made. I rejoice that the truth has borne good fruit for you, my child, an undying crop. Now that you have learned it from me, promise to be silent about this miracle, child, and reveal the tradition of rebirth to no one, lest we be accounted its betrayers. For each of us has done enough study. I, the speaker, you, the hearer. You know yourself and our Father intellectually. 14. From Hermes Trismegistus to Asclepius, health of mind.
So that was about, right, learning that, looking into, sorry, I let that play there to get through there, but learning that, looking into yourself, also then learning devotion, and then outwardly giving thanks, or at least inwardly giving thanks and devoting yourself. Again, that's the choice that you're making, getting back to the baptism and being reborn, right? So that was without a baptism, still doing the same with the devotion, learning that, realizing that, looking within yourself. Okay, so without going through the process that the churches have set up to have the baptism, it's still that way, because you're at that point, you're devoting yourself, you're singing a hymn or praising or praying to the Creator, and devoting and acknowledging that there is a Creator, and acknowledging that you're, not the Creator in that sense, that you're here down here and you're honest with yourself, and that you're trying to devote yourself now to become better, to be in service to others, and looking at the Creator from the standpoint of reverence and the realization that all of this has been created by the Creator, and then moving forward. So even without a baptism, even without going to or having to go to a church or to have somebody do these ceremonies, this is the lesson. You can still devote yourself to do these things if you're honest and you're worthy of doing that, and not lying and pretending. that the Creator will know about that. God will know. Jesus was teaching that. So was Muhammad. So was even Moses. Many other people, you do not need to go to a box and pay a tithing to humans to even pray. You don't have to go to the synagogue to pray. God hears you where you are. The Sermon on the Mount by Jesus was done that way on purpose. God knows that you're here. God hears you and if you are honest and you mean these things, and that's what that lesson was there, without saying the same things. Without saying, tend to take on a church by saying you don't have to go there and do what they tell you. That was the same thing. If you are aware and identify the things within you that are your faults and you want to change them because you're in service to others and you want to devote yourself and you want to do these things, you want to be a better person and better yourself, you have to make changes within yourself, and then you should, as within, so without, as below, so above, then you should start looking up towards the Creator and say, is there a Creator? There must be a Creator. So therefore I give thanks to this Creator, because this Creator gave me the opportunity to be here, to live these things, to experience these things, and to then gain wisdom from all of the things that I learn in life. And I'm trying to strive to be, or I am striving to be, a better person than I currently am. And therefore, all of this was made possible by the Creator, and yada, yada. And you're seeing that in giving thanks and praise to the Creator. And why are you doing that out loud? Because you're doing that out loud as an affirmation that you don't have to do it out loud if you're doing it even internally, and it is an affirmation and it is a praise, and you are true to yourself and true in your heart to these things, then it's still the baptism, then it's still the illumination. Some people can do that and it works for them. Other people have to go through the physical baptism. Some people can be a solitary practitioner and follow and be devoted without having to have the organization and the orthodoxy of a church. Other people need that. Other people need to have that that leadership. They need to have the priest or the rabbi or the whatever that clergy is called in the religion. When I was in the church, we were in the church. I was with the father, and it was Father Neil Clemens, and praise be to Father Neil Clemens if he's still around over there doing that. And we were showing the people who were coming to decide if they wanted to become Catholic, and then we're taking them on a tour of the church itself and explaining how it is in all of the different Catholic churches and how we have all the same things in there. And one of the people that were there looked at the Father and said, "Father, thank you for being here. You do such a great job." And his response was, "I'm only here because you need me to be here." And everybody went, "Wait, what?" And he looked at me and he winked, right? He looked over at me and he smiled. And he winked and he looked back and he said, "For who is it that is forgiving you when you confess your sins or when you ask for forgiveness from God? It is not me. It is God. But you come to me because you need a human to tell you it's okay. So I sit and I listen to your confessions. I listen to your rededication and your penance, and you say that you are sorry. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. And then you say these things to God and you confess them to God, and I am God's witness. I am not God. I am not the one that is giving you absolution. God is. I am just being the witness for you and the tool for God to work through. And I don't say you are forgiven. God forgives you. But I tell you, you are forgiven. Not because I am forgiving you, but because God has forgiven you. And I'm just reminding you of that. So I am only here because you need me to be here. And I thought that was the most pious approach and idea for a priest to say those things. I am not the one who is doing any of this. I am merely here because you need to come to some human, because you're not in a place to where you're just going to say it to God and believe that God hears you. So I am here for you to say God hears you and you are forgiven. Okay. The inner knowing, Penny says, let's put it up on the screen here. The inner knowing of the holy voice within is where we must pay attention and live from the words as best as you can. Absolutely. So you have to become aware of the self. You have to then become aware that I'm not perfect. No matter how perfect you think you're being, look at it and see, are other people saying that I have flaws? Are they all crazy? Am I the one that's okay? Or am I the one that's not realizing what everyone else is? If for whatever reason you ask around and people are like, no, you're the greatest person I ever knew and there's nothing wrong, I haven't found anything, and they all say that, you might want to go, okay, maybe I am doing pretty good because no one is looking at me in a negative light. Till you find someone that's self-serving, and of course they're always going to say that you're worse than they are because they're self-serving, right? You see my point? So, sorry, I got something on my glasses here, and it keeps bothering me. It keeps getting in my line of sight. I'm going to have to get it off of the glasses. So, once you go through all those things and you do that, even without a baptism, you can still be born again by redevoting yourself. And this is the lesson that Hermes was teaching here. Okay. So like Penny's saying, you have the inner knowledge, the inner knowing of the holy voice within. To hear that, you have to, first of all, be devoted. You have to be in service to others. And then you'll hear these things. And the knowledge that you gain from all of that is the same knowledge that everyone gains. If you're truly in service to others, if you're in service to self, you're going to get it all wrong, and you're going to start, your ego is going to start telling you that you're God. And I mean, we all are God, but the ego will do weird things with that and have you believing that have you doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Because if you're on the right path, then you're becoming more and more pious, more and more humble. And you're not trying to take credit for anything, because you know that the credit goes where the credit is due in the universe. This place was not created by me. It was created by the creator of the universe. Am I on a high enough level, up high enough, the creator of the universe? Yeah, so are you, so are the trees, so is this place. Truly on a very high vibrational level, it's just as likely that everything that you see and everything that is going on here is literally inside of one single teeny brain cell of a very huge, whatever this thing that we call the creator is, as it is that it's not. Ponder that for a minute, right? Okay, let me go in full screen over here and continue.
In your absence, my son Tat wanted...
So this is chapter 14, from Hermes Trismegistus to Asclepius, health of mind.
...to learn the nature of things as a whole, and he would allow me no delay. Because he is my son and a newcomer who but lately gained knowledge of them in each particular, I was forced to hold forth at some length, so it would be easy for him to follow the explanation. To you, however, I wanted to write selectively on a few of the most important headings of what I told him, but I have given them a more mystical interpretation, suitable to someone of your greater age and learning in the nature of things. If all visible things have come to be and are coming to be, if those that are begotten come to be by another's agency, not of their own, the begotten are many, or rather they are all visible things, all that are different and not alike.
They've taken this video down 3 times because it teaches you how to hit lottery tickets every week. Watch now while it's still up.
If then things that come to be...
Those don't know Amy, those are clickbait. Every time they come up, I'll tell you that, clickbait. They're taking this video down every time it comes up. Why? Because you'll be rich if you just watch this video quickly and watch it to the end as fast as you can. And it's just clickbait. Yeah, I hate that. Anyway, let's continue.
...come by another's agency, there is someone who makes them. And if this someone is to be older than the begotten, he must be unbegotten. For I maintain that things begotten come to be by the agency of another. It is impossible, however, for anything to be older than all begotten entities, unless it alone is unbegotten. Also, such a one is stronger, unique, and alone truly wise in everything, since none is older. In quantity, in magnitude, and in being different than what comes to be, such a one comes first, as also in the continuity of his making. Moreover, although things begotten are seen, he is unseen. And this is why he makes, in order to be seen. He is always making, so assuredly he is seen. This is the proper way to understand, and having understood, to be astonished, and having been astonished, to count oneself blessed for having recognized the Father. What is dearer than a true Father? Who is this Father, and how shall we recognize him? Is it right to dedicate to him alone the name God, or Maker, or Father, or even the three of them? God, because of his power? Maker, because of his action? Father, because of the good? He is power, certainly, since he is different from things that come to be, and he is activity in the coming to be of all things. Therefore, after we have done with our loquacity and idle chatter, we must understand these two things.
Joanne said, I did a personal ceremony where I brought a ring and dedicated it to God and our union and of my service and pledged to do God's work. This was inspired as I was waiting my spiritual church to do a service, as it was an uncommon request. They were dragging their feet. See, so you had asked for, Joanne had asked for to do a devotion, and they were dragging their feet on it because it was an uncommon request. And so obviously you did it on your own. I like that you did that. You didn't allow them to stifle you by questioning or saying, well, I don't know, it's kind of out of the ordinary. And you know what I mean? So you actually then did do that. You're on your own. That's great that you did that, because truly, there's no reason why we shouldn't do those things. Even with a baptism, if you do that, you can still rededicate yourself and redevote yourself at any time to the creator of the universe. The creator is not going to get tired of you saying that. Because if that were the case, the creator would get tired of everybody, giving thanks like the Christians do for every meal. They say a prayer of thanks to the creator, and the Hebrews do it too. Most of the religions do, and praise be to God. They say it all the time, right? Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, right? Peace be with you, and also with you. It's if you say these things over and over, it doesn't mean that it wears it out. It doesn't mean that God goes, yeah, you said it before. Said, I already got it. You did it again, whatever. That's not what happens. It's rededicating yourself and re-giving thanks and praising the creator for these things. The creator's not going to look at you any different for you doing that. The creator's going to look, in a negative way. The creator's going to look at you in a positive way because you're that much aware of and rededicating yourself to the creator, right? So good on to you, Joanne, for doing that and not allowing them in any way to dissuade you and discourage you from doing that and dedicating yourself. And people should take note of what Joanne said and think about that. Do you have that kind of dedication in yourself to take it upon yourself, to dedicate yourself and mean it like that? Dedicate yourself and say, I wish to be in service, and I wish to give thanks or praise to the creator for allowing me to have this, creating me so that I could have this, creating this so that I could experience it. We don't do that enough. None of us. Right? So there is no, when is enough enough? Never. When is enough enough? Never. Okay. Right? So, yeah. Okay, let's continue here. But you have to, it's a matter of your own devotion and a matter of your own determination. If you feel that it's necessary to do that, you don't. So the point of this is you don't have to go, again, the point of all of this is you don't have to go into the box. You don't have to go to the church to devote yourself. You don't have to go and have somebody witness you do it. You don't have to do that. If you're okay with that, you can do it and devote yourself to God, and God knows that. Other people are going to try and judge you because they're going to want to control you, right? So I'm not trying to dissuade you as well. I'm not trying to discourage you as well from going to a church. I'm not trying to tell people that churches are not something that people should go to and do, because they should. If it works for you, you need that. Just like Father Neil said to those parishioners, I'm here because you need me to be here. Churches exist for those people who need them to go there, and they should go there. I spent a lot of time in churches, still do. Right? I don't go to church and go to mass anymore, but I still spend time talking to clergy, reading about religion, going to the different places, walking into churches, looking around, the whole nines. I love churches. I love the way the architecture, especially the older ones. The new ones are just houses. They're built just like the houses are these days, but the older ones are really, really intricate and beautiful and have great acoustics. But if you get into the modern Christian churches, they just build a house. They put it in a house. They just give you a ceiling that is concaved, you know what I mean, instead of flat. But they're very low vibration. It annoys me. Very low vibration, just like anything else. The older churches, you walk in there, you can feel something different in them. Mausoleums and things. I don't mean the ones where people are dead in, right? So if you can find a place where there's churches that are hundreds of years old, go and look at those, and then go into a modern church of the same religion, and you'll find there's a big difference in the energy in those places. And then the energy will also be changed by the group of the people that are there as well. So sometimes you can go into one of those places that is just sort of a house like what we have in the United States, and you might walk in there and go, wow, I really like the energy in here, because why? The pastor, whatever it's that person's called in that religion, has a great energy. The people are great. The balance of good versus evil in the area or in that church is far exceeds the 86% in service to others and 14 evil, because even in regular, you're going to have people that are self-serving that are going to be going to those churches, but they're self-serving, but they're not having the same devotion that everybody else is. Okay, let's continue.
What comes to be and who makes it? Between them there is nothing, no third thing. From all that you understand and all that you hear, remember these two, and acknowledge that they are everything, reckoning no difficulty about things because they are above or below, or divine or changeable or deep down. For the two are all there is, what comes to be and what makes it, and it is impossible to separate one from the other. No maker can exist without something that comes to be.
I've never been, I just put that up on the screen. I'm going to put it back up on the screen. Denise said, going to St. Patrick in New York City. It's amazing. I have never been there. I've seen it from the outside in movies and television, and I've seen it from the inside of movies and television, and I've always wanted to go there. It is incredible. It is very, very old, hundreds of years old. I agree with you, Denise. I would. That's one of my bucket lists. I want to go and see that. Notre Dame. I wish I could have saw it before it burnt down, but I'll go and see the new one. I haven't seen the old one in this life before it burned down, but I'll go and see the new one at some point. Even the Vatican, some people think that the Roman Catholic Church is evil. So the church itself isn't evil. It's people in it. Nothing is evil in itself except for individuals. So you can't look at it. There's no evil dog. There's no, there's an evil person because that person chose to be evil. But there's not an evil place. Places aren't evil. They're haunted by evil or something. They're like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Denise, I agree with you. I've never been there. I hear tell. I mean, just like you saying that. Anyone who's ever been there says the same thing. Man, you got to go see this once. It's one of those things. It's bigger than the Grand Canyon. I've been to the Grand Canyon. I haven't seen the entire Grand Canyon, but I've seen the Grand Canyon. And it's one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen in my life. And I would in a moment trade that experience for going into the St. Patrick Cathedral in New York City, or Notre Dame for that matter in France, because from anyone who's ever been in those places, they just come out going, what? Wow, that was so beautiful. And the experience was insane. So, yeah, I agree. Well, it's on a bucket list. Penny said that. Penny said, one day, hopefully we'll soon. Yeah, it's on my bucket list too, Penny. Maybe a group of us will come out there, Penny, and we'll swoop you up, and we'll take you with us, and we'll all go. We'll all meet over there. We'll go in as a team, and we'll go in and spend some time walking through and seeing St. Patrick's. Maybe we'll plan that in a year or two, and Brooke and I'll fly out from Australia and come over, bring the kids and go and do something like that. Because I do want to come back and do like the redwoods, so that Brooke can see the redwoods out here in California and how big they are and how old they are, and other places I would love to show her in the United States. She's going to be showing me places in Australia the same. So at some point she wants to come back here and tour. So maybe that'll be one of the places we go. And if we're going to do that, maybe we'll see if we can orchestrate it and have a bunch of us meet up there and go and take a tour together. That would really be fun. Okay.
Each of the two is just what it is. Therefore, one is not to be parted from the other, nor from itself. If the maker is nothing other than the making, solitary, simple, uncomposed, then necessarily the making happens of its own, because the making that the maker does is generation, and it is impossible for all coming to be of its own.
So Peter said the Franciscan monks built all the St. Patrick churches across the world, the Irish and the I think it's Sistine monks. He said Sistine monks, I believe, traveled the world and built the St. Patrick churches during the oldest churches on the planet. And I agree. And even in the one in San Francisco, right? The Irish Franciscan monks is what you were saying, Franciscan. So I agree. They did. They went around. They were Masons, Freemasons, as a matter of fact. And they went around the world and they built a lot of them, and the architecture is the same. And it was during that time, and a lot of them were Irish carpenters, and a lot of them were Irish masons that built those things. Peter's absolutely right. And they went around the world and they built that. A lot of them were monks as well, right, Peter? Many of them, and people don't know that about a lot of that. The Irish Catholics being very Roman Catholic. I come from an Irish Catholic family that's very Roman Catholic, and you just have to experience them, right? There's so many that I've never have, and it's just so beautiful, right? Okay, let's continue here.
Coming to be necessarily comes to be of another. Without the maker, the begotten neither comes to be nor is. For the one without the other completely loses its own nature from deprivation of the other. Thus, if one agrees that there exist two entities, what comes to be and what makes it, they are one in their unification, an antecedent and a consequent. The antecedent is the God who makes. The consequent is what comes to be, whatever it may be. You need not be on guard against the diversity of things that come to be, fearing to attach something low and inglorious to God. God's glory is one, that he makes all things, and this making is like the body of God. There is nothing evil or shameful about the maker himself. Such conditions are immediate consequences of generation, like corrosion on bronze or dirt on the body. The bronze smith did not make the corrosion. The parents did not make the dirt, nor did God make evil. But the persistence of generation makes evil bloom like a sore, which is why God has made change, to re-purify generation. Now, if it is given to one and the same painter to make heaven, gods, earth, sea, humans, things without reason and things without soul, is it not possible for God to make them? Oh, how foolish it is! Ignorance concerning God. The strangest thing of all happens to such foolish people. While claiming to revere God and praise him, they do not know him, because they do not attribute to him the making of all things. And besides not knowing him, they profane him greatly by imputing to him conditions of disdain and impotence. If he does not make all things, it must be out of contempt or out of impotence that he does not make them, which is an irreverent notion. For in God there is only one condition, the good. But one who is good is not contemptuous or impotent. This is what God is, the good, all power to make all things. All that is begotten has come to be by God's agency, by the agency of one who is good, in other words, of one able to make all things. If you want to learn how he makes, how things come to be that come to be, it is given to you. Consider this lovely image that is very like him. See a farmer casting seed upon the earth. Here the wheat, there the barley, elsewhere seed of some other kind. See him planting the vine and the apple and other kinds of trees. In the same way, God sows immortality in heaven, change in the earth, life and motion in the universe. The things he sows are not many, but few and easily numbered. In all there are 4 of them, besides God himself and generation. In them exist the things that are.
So again, looking at the giving praise to, giving thanks to, and the realization that the Creator created the heavens and the earth. The Creator created everything. This is not an entirely crazy concept unless you're a secularist. Then it's a crazy concept because people don't want to believe there's a creator. Therefore, it has to be something else. People with a very linear mind, secularists and people who are atheists, they're like, there is no creator of the universe. Things just are. But they don't have any explanation for it. I love that. When you start questioning them, it unfolds. And they say the same thing is for the creator because you can't get past there's a creation. Prove it. Do you see? Well, this is here. Well, they say I say the same thing. There is nothing, and yet we're still here. But see, you're deciding there's nothing, and then they would say, well, you're deciding that there is something, but there is something, right? So that's a matter of perspective once again, and it's supposed to be that way. That conversation is supposed to happen so that people will have the opposing sides to think. So there's always going to be people who are going to say those things. You're never going to wake up everybody all at the same time because it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be this way. This is an ecosystem, right? So you have to realize that it is only those who decide to go that path are going to be the ones that are doing that. And Joanne says, funny story. I used to work as a carrier. I was looking after service use who was an alcoholic. Okay, so you were looking after someone who was an alcoholic. He was giving me the glad eye and asked me if I was married. I love it, right? That's funny. I said yes, and his name is God. He went in to say, God? That's a funny name. Oh my God, because he was drunk. God, that's a funny name. That's hilarious, right? So that's funny, Joanne. That is a funny story. You said God. I'm married, and his name is God. He said, God, that's a funny name. That's hilarious, right? That is actually a funny story, because especially since it sounds like he was being honest, so he wasn't thinking being drunk. He didn't realize that the God was what you were talking about, the creator of the universe. That's actually really funny. All right, let's continue. That's good. I like it. That's a good story, and and you can't make a story like that up, right? That's hilarious.
16. Definitions of Asclepius to King Ammon on God, matter, vice, fate, the sun, intellectual essence, divine essence, mankind, the arrangement of the plenitude, the 7 stars, and mankind according to the image.
That's hilarious.
I have sent you a long discourse, my king, as a sort of reminder or summary of all the others. It is not meant to agree with vulgar opinion, but contains much to refute it. That it contradicts even some of my own discourses will be apparent to you. My teacher, Hermes, often speaking to me in private, sometimes in the presence of Tat, used to say that those reading my books would find their organization very simple and clear, when, on the contrary, it is unclear and keeps the meaning of its words concealed. Furthermore, it will be entirely unclear, he said, when the Greeks eventually desire to translate our language to their own, and thus produce in writing the greatest distortion and unclarity. But this discourse, expressed in our paternal language, keeps clear the meaning of its words. The very quality of the speech and the sound of Egyptian words have in themselves the energy of the objects they speak of. Therefore, my king, insofar as you have the power, who are all powerful, keep the discourse uninterpreted, lest mysteries of such greatness come to the Greeks, lest the extravagant, flaccid, and, as it were, dandified Greek idiom extinguish something stately and concise, the energetic idiom of Egyptian usage. For the Greeks have empty speeches, O king, that are energetic only in what they demonstrate. And this is the philosophy of the Greeks, an inane philosophy of speeches. We, by contrast, use not speeches but sounds that are full of action. This established, I shall open the discourse by invoking God, the Master, Maker, Father, and Container of the whole universe, the All who is one, and the One who is all. For the plenitude of all things is one and is in one, not because the one duplicates itself, but because both are one. Keep to this meaning carefully, my king, through the whole length of my discourse. If anyone sets his hand against what seems to be all and one and identical, and tries to part it from the one, taking the term all to mean multitude rather than plenitude, he will be doing the impossible, breaking the all apart from the one and destroying the all. For all must be one, if in fact one exists, as it does, and never ceases to be one, so that the plenitude is not broken apart. Look in the middlemost parts of the earth at the many founts of water and fire gushing forth. In the same place, one observes three natures, those of fire, of water, and of earth, depending from one root. Hence the earth has been believed to be a storehouse of all matter, sending forth supplies of matter, and in return receiving substance from above. In this way the craftsman, I mean the sun, binds heaven to earth, sending essence below and raising matter above, attracting everything toward the sun and around it, offering everything from himself to everything, as he gives freely of the ungrudging light. For it is the sun whence good energies reach not only through sky and air, but even to earth and down to the nethermost deep and abyss. But if there also exists some intellectual essence, it is the sun's mass whose receptacle may be sunlight. Only the sun knows of what this essence is composed or whence it flows, since by location and nature it is near to the sun. We who are forced to understand by guesswork do not observe it. But a vision of the sun is not a matter of guesswork. Since it is the visual ray itself, the sun shines all around the cosmos with the utmost brilliance, on the part above and on the part below. For the sun is situated in the center of the cosmos, wearing it like a crown. Like a good driver, it steadies the chariot of the cosmos and fastens the reins to itself.
See, now looking here from this perspective at that time, the Greeks believed that our sun was the center of the universe and that the universe revolved around us, because from our perspective, even now, from our perspective, we're the center of the universe. Why? Because it seems like the entire universe revolves around us. It does that with everywhere, no matter where you are, no matter where you go in the universe, it's going to look like the universe is revolving around you. So for people who don't see the universe from the perspective of that outside edge, or from a still point a fixed point that is not in the universe, it's going to be that way. And it wasn't until we started tracking things in the modern era that we started realizing we're not the center of the universe, that we're way out on the fringe of this galaxy alone, and that our galaxy is on the fringe of the universe as well. We're not in the center by any means, because now we're able to track things and figure out distance as best we can, and we start realizing a bigger picture, right? But back then, it looked like the Earth was the center of the universe. So you have to realize that a lot of the arrogance that people think is arrogance. There's my sister Deborah. Welcome, Deborah. Jeff was in a little while ago. You missed him. He was on when we first got here. When I first went on the air about an hour ago, Jeff was in for a bit. So there's my sister in real life that just said hello, by the way. For those of you who don't know, that's my sister. So the matter, again, perspective, right? A matter of perspective. So they people back in history, in this time when Hermes was alive, they thoroughly believed there are a lot of things. They thoroughly believed that the universe was revolving around our sun. So a lot of things we have learned as we have evolved, and rightly so, and you would hope, I would hope, that we do evolve and start realizing the error of our ways with certain things. Back then they thought the earth was flat. There are a lot of people out there now who believe the earth is flat, and they're buying into this idea of the earth being flat. They'll figure it out or they won't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the universe. It's one of those things where you have a choice to decide what you want to decide. Right? And that's why I don't try to convince anybody of anything. I was just saying that last night when I was teaching, right? I use Socrates, another Greek. I use Socrates' ideology. I can't convince you of anything. Can't convince anyone of anything. The best that I could hope for is that I can get you to start thinking for yourself. So I don't try to sell anybody on any religion, and don't try to sell anybody on any spiritual way. I don't try to sell anybody on any product of any kind other than knowledge. I'm not trying to sell it. I'm trying to teach it, trying to inspire it, trying to get you to think for yourself. Because truly, no one learns anything until they learn it for themselves. Hence, this experience, and the experiment that is the experience that is the universe. The creator of the universe realized that even the creator itself needed experience to evolve. So created a place, and then needed someone to experience it. So the creator created this. Said, wow, man, I did a good job. This is pretty. But there's no one here to know it. There's no one here to see it. There's no one here to experience it. I'm going to have to create beings to experience it. Right? You're absolutely right, Peter. Peter's reminding me that I should be running a commercial for my book. I haven't yet. We're 2 hours in. You're right. Let's do that. Thank you, Peter, for that. Thank you for producing me there for a moment, right? So let's pay the bills.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the old ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the old ways. On sale worldwide online now.
Okay, so let's go back over here and take a look, right? And continue. So you have to realize that, again, perspective changes everything. So there was a time when they thought the world was flat. At the same time, they thought that we were the center of the universe. And we're clearly not, right? But you have the choice of believing that or not. However, in that time, Socrates died. The reason Socrates died was because he said, I don't believe that the earth is flat. I think we're wrong in that, and I think the earth is round. They actually tried him and condemned him to death for teaching people that. Right? And it wasn't too long after that, all the way up until the 1800s, 1700s for sure, in the United States, when they were killing women for thinking freely, calling them witches. Okay? So, right. So Penny said that he created us to do all the muckery and good and all that ugliness and all the good stuff. Right, absolutely. So God created the universe, right? Whether you believe in that or not, something created the universe. It came into being. And we know that it was here first, and then people became after other things that were here. So we weren't the first thing to be created. Something else was created, and at some point people will say, well, we just evolved from monkeys. Those people who say that can't show you that. Those people who say that we evolved from monkeys can't show you that. Because there's this thing called the missing link, where we can't trace our DNA back to the actual monkeys they say we evolved from. And the only thing that they can do to fill in that gap is aliens. Aliens came down, added their genome to the monkeys, and created humans. But yet, nobody claims that our DNA is alien. They say we have junk DNA. The majority of our DNA is junk. Not a joke. You guys should look that up. The majority of human DNA is garbage, according to scientists. It's junk DNA. So we have more DNA in our body that is junk than we do that is good, according to science. So that which makes us different from primates is a very small amount, and the rest seems to be junk. Why is that? Did the primates not have that? Where did that junk come from then? If what makes us the Homo sapien sapien is different, that which makes us this is different than all other primates. But we share some commonalities because we are primates and bipedal. But do they have junk DNA too? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe somebody out there knows the answer to that. I'm gonna have to look it up now. Give me something to research after I get off the air today. Right? So, yeah, perspective, center of the universe. Socrates was put to death because he was teaching people the earth might be round. Right there. That's what I've always asked. Joanne says this. If we evolved from monkeys, wouldn't the monkeys still be evolving? Agreed. Where are the people in between? Right? So what they're trying to tell us is that the monkeys spontaneously became Homo sapien and then Homo sapien sapien because they evolved. Where's the ones in between? Right? Joanne, where's the ones that are monkeys and quarter monkeys and quarter human or three-quarter human or the other way around? Where are the ones that are 1/10 a human, 1/4 a human, right? And then more and more. 50% human, 50% monkey. Where are those? Evolving, becoming. Well, they want us to believe that was us. So we evolved from a monkey, and there's still those monkeys stayed behind. Didn't evolve. How come they didn't evolve? Well, they must have evolved from something else like we did before that, and they just caught up to the monkey phase. Well, then wouldn't they be a completely different monkey than we were? Because they're evolving on their own, separate from us, so we're not connected to them. Well, should we check that? We have. We're not connected to them. So we can't find the monkey we were connected to. Doesn't exist. Missing link. Right? So I agree with you, Joanne. That's just like when COVID hit. I said, if COVID is a world killer like they're claiming and it's so dangerous and everyone's dying from it, where are the dead bodies in the streets? Why are people that are dying from COVID only dying in old folks' homes and hospitals around the entire planet? Where are the homeless camps where they have 20 dead people in it? Where's the car where somebody was driving down the road and just died of COVID and pulled over on the side of the road, laying there dead from COVID? Where's the house where grandma was at home and somebody came over to see grandma and they found her dead from COVID? People claim there's stories like that, but nobody finds the story like that. It would have been all over the news. There would be people walking down the roads like they did during the plague of in Europe, the Black Death. They were bringing carts and ringing a bell and screaming for people, bring out your dead, because people were dying in the houses where they lay, in the streets, in the fields. That was a plague. COVID was not a plague. There was no homeless encampment with someone dead in there and they had to come get the body with a hazmat gear. Where were the dead bodies? Where is the evolution? Joanne, great question. If we evolved from a monkey, where's the monkey we evolved from, and why is there's no link to it? There's one we think we evolved from, because we can see that there was a progression of these other humans that were half monkey, quarter monkey, three-quarter monkey, right? But none that tie to us. There's a missing link. So all must have been aliens then. Yeah, it was aliens. So, but agreed. So if we've been here all this time and they're showing that there was this progression of life and they were evolving, how come right now in this snapshot of time we don't have the in-betweens? Everything is a definitive thing. Okay? Everything is a definitive thing. A zebra is a zebra. Well, where's the zebra that's evolving if there's evolution, like they say? Well, we see it in history. There was a time, I agree with you, when, well, it happens so slowly we don't notice it, but we noticed it with bodies. Okay, we noticed it with skeleton structures. So it is happening. Where's the ones that are in between now? They're not there. So it sounds like there's an evolution that has happened on this earth, that has happened, and there's definitive time periods when we were something else. But you don't have that with all the species. They claim that, but it's, you know, like they say that chickens devolved from or evolved into chickens from velociraptors. Right? I haven't seen that link that puts them together. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but what I'm saying is I agree with Joanne. There's some questions, man. Where are the others? Where are the ones where are the monkeys that should be evolving? Where are the ones that still should be evolving? Agreed. Okay, agreed, 100%. All right, let's go over here. So there's something about history that they're not telling us. There's something about history that they're omitting, or there's something about history that they do not understand, and they're not admitting that. They think that they want everybody to think that they're the most knowledge on everything, scientists, that is, historians, that is. Yet there's questions that some of us go, why does God need a starship? They can't answer that question.
To prevent the cosmos going out of control. And the reins are these: life and soul and spirit and immortality and becoming. The driver slackens the reins to let the cosmos go, not far away, to tell the truth, but along with him. In this way are all things crafted. The sun portions out eternal permanence to the immortals and feeds the immortal part of the cosmos with the rising light emitted from its other side, the one that faces heavenward. But with the light held in confinement as it shines all around inside the hollow of water and earth and air, the sun enlivens and awakens, with becoming and change, the things that live in these regions of the cosmos. It brings transmutation and transformation among them, as in a spiral, when change turns one thing to another, from kind to kind, from form to form, crafting them just as it does the great bodies. For the permanence of every body is change. In an immortal body, the change is without dissolution.
See, I like that concept. Think about that concept right there, right? That change itself is the constant in the universe, because it is. Everything is constantly in motion at all times. Nothing is stagnant. It only appears to be stagnant from a further distance away. The universe seems to be unchanging when you look at it from the perspective of, say, we're here on Earth and we're looking out at the universe. It seems to be unchanging, other than it appears to be different places in the sky at different months, because we're rotating and we're moving. And so we're rotating around in a circle, and then we're moving around the sun. So therefore, we have seasons, and because we're not on a straight line, we're on a elliptical course around the sun, orbit around the sun. So we're not at a set level. And because of that, we go below the sun half of the year and above the sun half of the year, and it changes our seasons, changes the light of the day. Right now in the North American continent, we're in the area where we're at the longest part of the day. So the days are longer than any other time of the year. And that's starting to wane soon. I think it comes up next month, or the solstice is coming up soon. I don't know exactly. I'm not looking at the calendar. And then the days will start getting shorter as we start going into autumn and then into winter. And those of you in the southern hemisphere, down there in Australia and other places around the world in the southern hemisphere, the opposite is true. You're in the darkest time, shortest days, because you're below the sun. And we're below the sun. So because that sun is above the northern hemisphere, and as we move going into July, August, September, October, November, December, we are going to then go above the sun in our orbit, and then you guys will have more sunlight on you, and we'll have less sunlight on us, because our orbit's going to take us up away from the sun a little bit in the northern hemisphere. So perspective, the cyclical nature of the universe. So it is a constant that has a cyclical nature. We continue to spin in the same direction, going a 24-hour day. We go around 364 and a quarter days to go around the sun once. The sun itself is going around the Milky Way galaxy, and that takes like a couple of million years or a couple of billion years for us to make a turn. The Milky Way galaxy takes a couple of trillion years to go around the center of the universe. But motion is the only true constant in the universe. But motion is not so that is wrong in a sense, because energy, frequency, vibration is all motion. So that means that every part of the universe is motion. 3, 6, and 9. Energy, frequency, vibration, those are all motion. So there is no stagnant. Nothing is stagnant. Even rock itself has a vibration. So what is life? Here on Earth, we say life is a place that can sustain humans, or a place that can have the building blocks that can become humans. So you have to have something that is in motion, right? You have to have something that's in motion to be life, but it also has to be something like we consider life to be water, because without it we'll die. Water is your life. Without it you will die on the desert planet called Dune, Arrakis. That comes from the movie, the books, Dune. Frank Herbert wrote that. Water is your life, and without it you will die. So for us, water is essential. Without water and the sun's rays, nothing grows on this planet. So we look for a sustainable source of light that is in the spectrum that will cause water to then germinate, and plants and things like that. Okay. But we need water. And so we look for water everywhere in the universe. If we find water, that means there could be life there, because it's given life to the earth, because we're 75% water. But so that's not exactly true, but that's the perspective that we use, because we want to find water, because if there's water somewhere, we can go terraform it. That means humans can live there. If there's water, H2O, that we can drink, then we just have to test the water and make sure that it's not poison. It doesn't have amoebas that'll kill humans or change our DNA. And that means that if there's water, there's oxygen, because H2O is 2 molecules of oxygen. So if there's hydrogen plus 2 oxygen molecules, that means that there's a potential for that oxygen to lose its hydrogen connection and float in the air, which means we could then breathe the air. If you know chemistry, you know what I'm talking about. So again, if we look at what would be that which truly would represent something living, it should be motion. But then they can't say that in science because everything has an energy, a frequency, and a vibration. Everything. That's how we do that. You do know, most people don't know this, those of you around the world that don't understand this, the telescopes that we're using now are radial. Okay, so they're picking up vibration. Light vibrates, sound, energy, frequency, vibration. So we're literally now looking at the universe through the eyes and the lenses of energy, frequency, and vibration, not telescopic, where we're just trying to see the physical objects anymore. We originally were trying to see the physical objects by looking through a telescope and then looking through a big giant telescope, magnifying the distance so that we could see an item. Now we're using frequency, energy, frequency, and vibration, all three of those, to pick up sounds, vibrations, frequencies, and energy coming off of stars, planets, the universe itself. So truly, that would be what life should be considered and is on other planets and other worlds by developed worlds, peoples. That the universe itself is alive, that everything is alive. This piece of wood next to me was at one time alive. It still is, and it's vibrating. On some level, it's still live in there. This sand that was melted down to make these lenses, it's crystalline, holds energy. We can take and put the computer, my entire show, we could put it in this glass, and they can be played back again, right? Energy, frequency, vibration. There's area in this glass, the sand that was melted down to make this spectacles that I wear, these glasses that I wear. You could charge it with energy and put it in there, and then somebody could play it back, and we're aware of that. Let's continue.
In a mortal body, there is dissolution. And this is what distinguishes immortal from mortal, mortal from immortal. Just as the sun's light is continuous, so also, both in location and supply, does its fecundity continue on and on without cease. Around the sun are many troops of demons looking like battalions in changing array. They are not far from the immortals, though they dwell with mortals. From on high they have been assigned the territory of mankind, and they oversee human activity. What the gods enjoin them, they effect through torrents, hurricanes, thunderstorms, fiery alterations, and earthquakes. With famines and wars, moreover, they repay irreverence.
See, so here, going back in time, so far, they believed that there were demons that caused famine, demons that caused floods, demons that caused fire. Right? Now, did that mean that they believed there was an evil entity that was alive that was causing that? Or did that word mean something different at the time that this was written? Did demon mean something in nature that caused things? Negative things in nature? Because we know that lightning isn't evil. It's not alive as a demon. Did they know that back then? Very possible. I think there's a mistranslation where the concept of them saying a demon ruled over the earth or caused a fire, that would have been lightning bolts. But you have to remember that when you go back far enough, people believed that that was God creating lightning bolts and started a forest fire because he was mad at the people. They believed that Mount Sinai, when Moses was around, was an active volcano. They believed that the only time that it was active was because God was there, because God was in the mountain. So therefore, the volcano was smoking. There's smoke and fire coming out of it, so God's in there. Was that primitive people believing that God was in there and getting angry at them and they had to appease God? Or was it primitive people seeing a spaceship that went and landed or went into the fire that caused those things to happen? Do you see? Or was there an actual God that shows up only at that time? Yours is the answer. Yours is the determining factor of which you wish to believe. Which one of those scenarios is that which you think is more plausible? Let's continue here.
Irreverence is mankind's greatest wrong against the gods. To do good is the gods' affair. To be reverent is mankind's, and the demons is to assist. Whatever else humans dare to do, out of error or daring or compulsion, which they call fate or ignorance, all these the gods hold guiltless. Irreverence alone is subject to judgment. For every kind, the sun is preserver and provider. Just as the intellectual cosmos that encompasses the sensible cosmos fills it by making it solid with changing and omniform appearances, so also the sun that encompasses all things in the cosmos strengthens and makes solid all of them that are generated, as it takes in those that are spent and dwindling away. The sun sets in array the troop, or rather troops of demons, which are many and changing, arrayed under the regiments of stars, an equal number of them for each star. Thus deployed, they follow the orders of a particular star, and they are good and evil according to their natures, their energies, that is. For energy is the essence of a demon. Some of them, however, are mixtures of good and evil. They have all been granted authority over the things of the earth and over the troubles of the earth, and they produce change and tumult collectively for cities and nations, individually for each person. They reshape our souls to their own ends.
Okay, so you also have to realize that at these times, people would call them gods as well. God that created your elbow, God that created your shoulder. If you look at even Thoth, the Atlantean, Thoth during the I don't remember which chapter it was. I'm writing about it in my current book that I'm writing. Talked about the gods that ruled the archetypes. So I don't believe what most people believe. They believe that they were calling them a god, like the creator of the universe. I don't believe that. I haven't looked up what exactly the translation of the word meant, but I think the concept of what they were calling gods, because that's what people did to, let's define that. What people in history have done to explain that was they said there's the gods that are the creator of the universe and the gods, and then there's demigods. And the demigods are the lesser gods. And that's where you hear like the story in the book, children of a lesser god. Demigods. And so I don't believe that the word God, the word that we use now, had that same meaning back then. I think it meant more something like ruler than it did creator of the universe. And somewhere along the line, the concept became argumentative in culture and region, where some people were saying using the vernacular God for the creator of the universe, and other people used the concept of God as a concept, not a entity or an individual, and that was ruler of. I haven't actually looked into it, but I believe that makes more sense. So I think that's more accurate to that. So when you hear people saying that gods and demons, it was positive and negative energies, is my point. Do you see? Positive and negative energies was the concept. So I don't believe that it meant the rulers of. So the energy itself was, if it was in service to others, was God energy. And if it was in service to self, it was demon energy or devil energy. And so I think they were more of a concept than an individual. So there weren't gods unless they actually had names for them. But a lot of times they did that. You know, you can read the Egyptian Book of the Dead and they'll tell you the names of the god that created your right index finger, top knuckle, middle knuckle, knuckle on your hand. And so they named those gods to everything. So for some reason, people needed to know and wanted to know how things were, and they were coming up with this god that was creating that. So there was like a billion gods. There's a god for everything. And there are many cultures that did that. I don't believe that they were saying that they're all creators of this stuff. I think it was more, they were actually trying to describe chakras and rulers. And the reason I say that is because if you read the Emerald Tablets, which is some of the oldest scriptures, oldest scrolls, in fact, on Emerald Tablets, written things, they weren't actually gods. Okay, so when they talked about the gods that ruled the archetypes that create the human condition, there were 7 of them, and their names were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's the name. The numbers are the names of the gods, right? So it was actually 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9. So there was no 1 or 2 and no 10 that was told by Thoth. So the gods' names were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they happen to coincide with, and I believe, and many of us believe now, were in fact the chakras. So it was the name of the chakras. But he called them gods. God was a ruler. God was something that was immortal, that was constant. So it was a concept, not a deity, not an individual. It was a concept. Gods and demons were not individuals with wings that had a pitchfork or didn't, or had a halo. It was a concept of positive or negative energy. And I believe that they knew that back then, but we don't know that now. We lost that energy. We lost that memory. We lost that history. Let's continue.
And they rouse them, lying in ambush in our muscle and marrow, in veins and arteries, in the brain itself, reaching to the very guts. The demons on duty at the exact moment of birth, arrayed under each of the stars, take possession of each of us as we come into being and receive a soul. From moment to moment, they change places, not staying in position, but moving by rotation. Those that enter through the body into the 2 parts of the soul twist the soul about, each toward its own energy. But the rational part of the soul stands unmastered by the demons, suitable as a receptacle for God. Thus, if by way of the sun anyone has a ray shining upon him in his rational part, and the totality of those enlightened is a few, the demon's effect on him is nullified. For none, neither demons nor gods, can do anything against a single ray of God.
See, so now there's a differentiation in positive and negative creator. Do you see? And using the same word. None, neither demons nor gods, can do anything against a single ray of God. To them, that made complete perfect sense that God, the singular, was different from gods in a different way that rose up that God to a stature that was above the demons and the gods. Do you see? But it makes sense to, if you're aware of the concept, there's that word again, the concept of the word God meaning creator of the universe. If you're not, then I don't understand what God is different from the other gods. You wouldn't know that if you didn't already have in your mind's eye, in your memory, the concept that the word God used in this sentence meant creator of the universe. So what if we don't know what demons and gods mean? But we do understand the vernacular of God in the singular being the monotheistic, male-dominated God of the big four religions on this earth currently, being that deity figure that is the creator of the universe. So what are we missing with the use of the vernacular gods and demons then? I think exactly what I said, positive and negative energies ruling over different things and influencing different things. Let's continue here.
All others the demons carry off as spoils, both souls and bodies, since they are fond of the demons' energies and acquiesce in them. And it is this love that misleads and is misled. So, with our bodies as their instruments, the demons govern this earthly government. Hermes has called this government fate. The intelligible cosmos, then, depends from God.
Right. Benny says, I believe that the demons and the darkness are the darkness energy that exists for the duality that is needed. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you 100%. And we bring them to life as part of our story. Right. And then Denise said, I agree with that. Denise says, I agree with Benny. How would we learn if it wasn't for evil? Absolutely. I just had the same conversation. Just had the same conversation last night or earlier today. You can't have light without dark. You can't have good without evil. You can't have life without death. You won't understand the concept of either if you don't have both. So you have to have the balance. There has to be the opposite, the equal and opposite and equal energy in everything, because otherwise you will never truly understand life if you are not threatened by death, or if death isn't a thing. If you're immortal and you're the creator of the universe, you don't know what death is because you've never experienced it. So this goes back to the dichotomy of what is this place that we're in? What is its function? That's why we answer that with, what's the function of this third dimensional reality? God is becoming self-aware in this place of itself, becoming aware of itself in this place. Vicariously through us, we living, dying, experiencing, creating these experiences, living organically these experiences, are experiencing life and death. The Creator created this place, then put us here, created us, all of that is in this place, to then do these things, and is witnessing that. And in doing so, living vicariously, in doing so, the creator of the universe, whatever you call that, is becoming aware of itself in this place. Because we are becoming aware of ourselves in these places, in this place. Over and over and over, every variation of every single individual being allowed to be individual, and a fracture and a difference, yet similar to each other enough to be the same species and other species, right? So I agree. I believe that it was a concept, not an actual deity to be named, running around going, I believe it was a concept of energy, positive and negative energies. Okay, wait, we'll go back in full screen over here, and we'll go ahead and continue.
And the sensible cosmos from the intelligible, but the sun, through the intelligible cosmos and the sensible as well, is supplied by God with the influx of good, with his craftsmanship, in other words. Around the sun are the 8 spheres that depend from it, the sphere of the fixed stars, the 6 of the planets, and the one that surrounds the earth. From these spheres depend the demons.
See, and that will tell you when this was written, the 6 planets. Right? That's all there were at this time. And now you're saying the sphere because the universe rotates around us. The planets rotate around us. The sun rotates around us. Perspective again, believing that everything revolves around the earth, that we're the center of the universe. They had no way of telling that from their perspective at the time. So they believed that they were right, just like we in this time believe that we're right with all the information that we think we have from our perspective at this time with the technology that we currently have. We believe that we know more about the universe than those before us because we have technology. So therefore we're right. They were primitive. They back then believed they were the cutting edge and that they knew more than anyone else and that they were right and everyone before them were primitive. Every generation thinks that they're more evolved than the one before them, and they think that they're more right about history than the one before them. That's ego. Let's continue.
And then from the demons, humans. And thus all things and all persons are dependent from God. Therefore the Father...
Right? And then Peter says, get this concept in your brain, right? We think about the darkness. Once we create the darkness within our minds, the evil within our consciousness plays tricks, right? Winning in your consciousness, your soul, we have to understand that to control the consciousness and remind, right? Then the screen jumped. And remind, leaving the concept of love and happiness, kindness. This is the only way if you know what I mean. Yeah, well, agreed. So so it's again our perspective, right, Peter? Our perspective, we are seeing the darkness and then we're creating that in our mind's eye and in our consciousness. Then our consciousness plays tricks on us because we're now creating something, and the ego will then grab a hold of that, anything to get our attention. So we're saying that must be evil, that must be the devil. God must be angry at us. The mountain is screaming out and fire's coming out of the mountain. We've done something wrong and God is angry with us. There's a forest fire burning. God is cleansing the land because he's angry at something that we did. So he's killing everything in its path. We must have done something wrong to offend God. Bring us a girl, a really young one. We have to slit her throat so that God will stop the fire. We have to sacrifice a virgin child. Bring us one of your daughters. It's an honor to sacrifice your daughter. And if you're truly worthy, the fire will stop. You laugh, some of you around the world, for me saying that. But that actually happened in real life around the world. So they believed that by killing someone and bleeding their blood and then saying words over their blood would bring them better crops, stop the famine, stop the drought. Got to kill more people. No, God didn't like that one. Kill another one. Bring me some more. Somebody else, bring me some more. And then eventually they would kill one and the drought would be ended. And they would go, that was the right one. All the rest of them weren't worthy. And the drought just ended because the weather changed. We know that concept now. They didn't. They had no way of understanding that perspective. So then you have to ask, and this is Peter's contention here, then you have to ask, what is it that we're doing now that we're unaware of, that we're assuming we know what we're talking about when we're saying things are evil or demons, or what is it, the words that we're using now that 20,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, 100,000 years from now, 200 years from now, what is it that they're going to look at and think about us and go, wow, yeah, no, they were kind of misguided back then, weren't they? They thought they knew what they were doing, but they were destroying the earth, not knowing they were destroying the earth yet, because that didn't come up. They didn't see it. Right? We're going to go down in history as the plastic era, plastic age. This age is going to be remembered only for that, plastic. We had no idea what it was going to do to our genome. We had no idea what it was going to do to us if we ingested it. The concept never even crossed our minds until there was more plastic on the planet than there were humans. There is now. There's almost, they're starting to clean up the oceans because they realized that they said 50 years back then. Now that would have been 36 years from now. There would have been more plastic in the ocean than there were fish, life. And so they started trying to clean it up. Now they're working on trying to clean it up. We're trying to recycle plastic as much as we can and get it to break down and stop creating new plastics. Some countries are still doing it anyways. So we're starting to evolve away from that. We're still going to go down in history as the plastic age because we have more plastic than they did bronze during the Bronze Age. We're doing more damage to ourselves and the earth than any other group of people at any other time in the history of our planet, just with plastic alone. Not to mention our nuclear age, not to mention the nuclear radiation that we're also unleashing on the planet. We are doing more damage with plastic to ourselves and animals and nature than we are by hundreds of times with radiation from our nuclear weapons. And they're not really talking about that. They're starting to. So perspective again, we look at these people and think they were kind of primitive, thinking that they were gods, unless we got it wrong and their concept was different. Do you see? But we've evolved. That's a good sign. We found out things and answers to things that we think we know that were different. And how did that happen? Because we didn't just stay to the norm and listen to people who were trying to control us and having us just sit down, be quiet, go over there and pay your tithing. We started asking questions. Right? Denise said years ago we only had glass bottles on everything, which was far more better for the world. However, and I miss those days, when you would drive down the road and you would look out on the side of the road would be reflecting this beautiful array of light reflecting out of the dirt because there was so much glass on the sides of the roads here in America from people throwing bottles out the windows and then breaking and having glass all over the place, that it was beautiful. And now it's all gone. It's all buried under the ground because we're no longer having all that glass. And so it's rare to find a place where you look and you see all this glass glistening in the sunlight when you're driving, right? Milkman, Soda Man, right, Denise? Yeah, everything was in glass bottles. Now all of those things went into aluminum, then we got it out of aluminum, and then it went into plastic, and we tried to get it out of plastic and go into cardboard, but that breaks down too easily, so they went back to plastic, and now we have plastic which never goes away and never breaks down. It breaks down in smaller pieces, but it's still the same mass. That's something that all of you around the earth should look into. So they're like, well, we recycled the thing about 20 times, and then it becomes so fragile that it just breaks apart and is brittle. So we just put it in a landfill. What they don't tell you is the mass of the plastic is exactly the same. It becomes brittle and breaks into smaller and smaller pieces. But the actual mass is the same. It's just not all in one chunk anymore. Those little tiny microscopic pieces, they now have realized have got into our water and we're drinking it. Got into our food supply because all plants and all animals are now consuming it because they've gotten small enough. We have no idea the ramifications of that, what it's doing to the genome of everything on this earth. We don't know the answer to that, and we don't know that we'll know the answer to that in our generation. And we're hoping and praying that it's not going to do damage to the world beyond repair. We have no idea. We could be causing the death of a planet and be the actual cancer that some people try to say we are. And we could be dying right now and not know it. But we're hopeful that we're not, right? So it's a matter of perspective once again. And is that supposed to be something that's supposed to happen? So again, you have to look at the concepts, right, of what they're saying, not them as a deity, because what was the name of that god that made my elbow?
Of all is God. Their craftsman is the sun, and the cosmos is the instrument of craftsmanship. Intelligible essence governs heaven, heaven governs the gods, and demons posted by the gods govern humans. This is the army of gods and demons. Through them God makes everything for himself, and all things are parts of God. But if all things are parts of God, then all things are God, and he makes himself in making all things.
See, now here, if you look at everything they were saying before and thinking they're primitive and wrong, this thing right here, this portion of this right here is what we have discovered today in our teaching. So were they wrong in all the rest of the stuff and got this right? Are we wrong in thinking what they're saying here is accurate? Or were they accurate about other things and we were misunderstanding what they were saying? Because now they're saying all things were created by God. Therefore, all things are God, and he makes himself in making all things. Now remember, when asked, what is the function of this third dimensional reality, this place, many of us reply, even Eckhart Tolle, God is becoming aware of itself in this place. All things are God, and he makes himself in making all of these things. Do you see? That means the same thing. So thousands of years ago, these people that we would consider primitive, thinking there's multiple gods, thinking the earth is flat, and saying these things, the way they were saying them, sounding kind of silly to us today, all of a sudden in the same chapter, this comes up, and it's the concept that all spiritualists have been saying all around the world. So are we misinterpreting the words from Greek? What were they translated to from Greek before they were translated into English? Did they go from Greek to Coptic or Greek to Latin and then to English? Did they go Coptic, Latin, English? You need to look at that. See? So because there's concepts that change with languages, words change, and because concepts change, it's hard to realize that. And the problem that we have, let me pull myself up on full screen again. The problem that we have is that people look at these things and try to take them literal. You can't take a concept literal like, say, this book. I can't take all the words literal in this book because I don't know where this book came from. I know where it was written, Oxford. I know that. It was written from two manuscripts, one in Latin and one in Greek. So at this point, for this book, this book was directly written from a cross-reference of Latin and Greek and translating that into English now. So what was the process and what liberties did the people take who were doing that when they were trying to figure out what things meant? Did they say, well, as best as I can tell, in Greek, that means this, and as best as I can tell, that same thing in Latin means this, so therefore we put those two together? Or were there things that were slightly different and then they decided which one it was? Word, concept. That's always been my dilemma in everything. When people were trying to interpret Nostradamus, and there's thousands of books out there doing just that. I started researching that after I read the translation of Nostradamus' stuff that was banned now, and you can't find it in the world. Wonder why that was. Completely saying something different than all the other translations. But I noticed that when I read one person's book and another person's book side by side, the translation would be slightly different. What's going on here? I said to myself. I was, I think, 15 or 16. Wait a minute. They're not translating these words the same. If they were right about what they were doing, they should have the words translated identical, but they're not. Why? So then I looked at who is the person that's translating it, what's their mother tongue, and what is their background on the language. Because it was 15th century or 14th century French being translated into modern English, how come they have differences of opinion on words, concepts? And then you would find somebody that would tell you that and give you the footnote, the keynote, saying back then in this language, this word meant this or this or this. And they would give you the examples. If we put this word in with that concept, the sentence reads this way. If we put the same word in with this concept, it reads this way, and it changes that word to this different word in this concept. And with those people, I liked because they were very scientific. Most people don't want to read all of that. They just want you to tell you what it says. Problem is that what's the motivation of the people that are doing it? Are they motivated by money to sell the books? Or are they a scientist and they're trying to get you the best translation? Most people don't look into that concept at all. They don't care. Just tell me what it says. I want to hear all the good stuff. Okay? I don't want to do any work for myself. Otherwise, I would already be doing that. So I get annoyed with that because for obvious reasons. You don't know if people are telling you something, who translated it, and did they change the narrative to fit their idea of what they want to sell, their agenda. Right? Then you look at modern times in the news and you see that that's exactly what's going on all the time. And they expect that you're not educated enough to know the difference. You turn on one news channel and they tell you something from a obviously slanted position that is backing one or the other side of the narrative when it comes to, like, say, politics. Go to the opposing channel or network, and they're telling the same story from the perspective of the person. And what I have found in history is that humans do that. If you have two children, something goes on in the next room, and one of the kids starts crying, and you go in there, each one is going to paint themselves as the victim, and the other one started it, and the other one did it, and I wasn't doing anything and just sitting here. One's lying to you, and one's telling you the truth. And you have to learn to tell the difference. Otherwise, you will never be able to discipline your children in any way. And the person who is always being taken advantage of by the one of your children who is self-serving is going to love that. And the other one's going to get a complex. They never believe me. They never listen to me. I'm being abused by my brother or my sister. And no one knows and no one cares. That will happen. They do it to us all the time. So if they're doing it now, they did it then. And that means they've been doing it all along. So when you read something, you have to realize and learn the perspective of the person and did they have an agenda. For instance, if you look at the concept of and the theory of flat Earth today, it's all based on a guy from the 1700s who set out to prove the Earth was flat and said there was this thing called the firmament that no one else in history since then has ever been able to witness or document. But he and his entire crew were immune to the firmament, and they were able to find the firmament. And they were able to see it there. They couldn't bring any of the firmament back. They just brought back a story, to which he's the only one who told the story. None of his men corroborated his story. None of his men are in history for saying, we saw all these things. He saw all these things. He was trying to prove the earth was flat. You can look this up. I'm not making any of this up. Set out to prove the earth was flat, came back with a theory and said, I went and found this ice wall that's called the firmament. How did he know what it was called? I call it the firmament. Why do you call it that? No one questioned it. Who told you that? And I sailed along that firmament for thousands of miles and then had to come back. Really? What'd you do for food and water in this time? Never mind that now. Because it's not like now. You think now you can get in a plane and fly thousands of miles on one tank. You still have to have food. My wife flew from Australia over here to America. She ate a couple meals in the air because they were in the air for like 14 hours. So they still needed food and water to get 14 hours to go 7,000 miles. 7,000 miles in a sailing ship in the 1700s would take like 3 or 4 months or 6 months. They didn't have enough room on board those ships to pack enough food for the crew it took to man that. So how did this person go out? When did they last fuel up with food and water, the things they needed before they went all the way through the ice to find the wall? And then how far did they sail without leaving to go get food and come back? How many times did they do that? According to the person, he sailed up, found the wall, and turned and sailed for thousands of miles and then came back because he didn't want to get lost and then came home. So if he went 1,000 miles or 7,000 miles one way, 14,000 miles, which should have taken over a year with only the food and water that they had when they left, that's impossible. That food and water would have only lasted about 3 months. Yet, they didn't say, then we had to sail away to go get food and come back. But we kept coming back and finding the same firmament in the same place and continued till we ran out of food and went away from the ice to find an island to get food and came back again. None of that was told. They sailed along it for a long time, thousands of miles, and came back. What did you eat? What did you eat? No one asked that question. Okay. So agenda changes reality. Some people in history will tell you that when they're doing archaeology, that they can't tell certain things that they find because the people who are paying them don't want that information out to the world. They're looking for a specific narrative and they're paying for that. And you will also find that most people who are doing research, they believe 90% the same as the people that are paying them, because the people who are paying them search for somebody who's searching for what they're searching for only because they don't want them to talk about whatever it is that they don't want, that they're trying to prove. So you have to realize that in everything, you have to take things with a grain of salt. Even things I say, am I coming from a slant of a narrative? Am I trying to push something on you? This is why I don't do that, so that you guys can research these things on your own. I'm not trying to force you to remember anything or to think anything. I'm not trying to sell you a religion. I'm trying to give you your free will. I'm trying to give you questions so that you can start asking questions and thinking for yourself. Okay, let's continue here.
His making can never cease because he is ceaseless. And as God has no end, so his making has neither beginning nor end. 17. If you think about it, O king, incorporeals also exist among the corporeals. What kind? Asked the king. Bodies that appear to be in mirrors seem incorporeal to you, do they not? Yes, Tat, they do. Your understanding is godlike, said the king. But there are also other incorporeals. Doesn't it seem to you, for example, that there are forms that appear in body, even though they are incorporeal, in the bodies not only of ensouled beings, but of the soulless also? You put it well, Tat. Thus there are reflections of the incorporeals in corporeals, and of corporeals in incorporeals. From the sensible to the intelligible cosmos, that is, and from the intelligible to the sensible. Therefore, my king, adore the statues, because they too possess forms from the intelligible cosmos. Rising, the king then said, It is time that I attend to my guests, O prophet. Tomorrow we shall theologize further.
Right? So here, again, perspective. Do you see? Looking at somebody in a mirror, they appear to be incorporeal, not human or a ghost-like, right? It's a reflection of you, but it's not you, so therefore it can't be you. because it's your reflection. It's a great dichotomy. It's a great lesson, or it's a great ponderance. If a tree falls in the woods, does it make sound if there's no human around to hear it? Aristotle said no, because there's no tree, there's no forest, there's no sound. And I say that's not true. I say it's not true. The humans do not have to be involved for something to be. Just because you walk into a forest and find a tree on the ground doesn't mean that tree's been on that ground for all of eternity until you found it. It also doesn't mean that that tree didn't fall down and make sound. You just weren't there to hear it. This universe happens on its own, and it doesn't take us for it to happen. Do we affect the universe? Can we make changes to the universe? Can we make changes to reality by our presence? Absolutely. But we're not the ones holding this place completely in place. It doesn't exist to because we exist. It already existed before we existed. It exists to please us. It exists for us. That doesn't mean that it only exists if we're there to see it. That somehow it winks out of existence when we move out into the forest. Then all of a sudden there's something that is sensing that we humans are coming into the area. So therefore it's creating an area in front of us that didn't appear there and wasn't there before. Because if that was the truth, then when I went out into the forest and took pictures of what I saw, and I came back and didn't show anyone or tell anyone what I saw, and then somebody else walked out into the forest and went the exact same number of steps that I did and took pictures, they should see something completely different because they didn't expect to see the same thing, nor did they have that in their mind's eye to be the same thing. Therefore, they should have manifested something completely different, and they should come back with pictures that are completely and as alien to each other as me seeing Niagara Falls when you're seeing Grand Canyon. And I don't know if you guys are, I'm buffing right now, so my Wi-Fi is dipped down, so I apologize. On my screen, everything buffed and YouTube was shut down for a second. I don't know. Last time that happened, it didn't happen for you guys. It was only for me. So hopefully it didn't happen again, and it was only for me. Okay. So if it were the case, and viewer created reality were the only way reality was created, then we would all be creating reality the way we wanted to see it. We wouldn't create the same thing and be able to come back to it. Well, a collective consciousness. Well, it takes someone to see it to create it. So now you have to come up with theories that, well, if one person goes there and sees it, because we're all connected to the collective consciousness, therefore that person created it the very first time, whoever the very first human was that saw that all the way back a bazillion years ago, and that they created it with their mind, and therefore we're all connected. So it just uploads into our brain. Now we're talking like computers are in charge, right? Because there's now a big central computer that is linked to a neural network in our brains. The concept only comes into play if you know about computers. Do you see? Because if you go back in time to where there were no computers, no one would come up with that concept of, well, then it just went into your head magically. Okay, so who's governing that? So when you ask these questions from the perspective of someone 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, they're trying to answer these questions. So then they're like, well, there was a God that ruled that is sitting up there, and that the God waits, and then the God says, you created that, and so I will then take that knowledge and give it to all the other people too. And now everybody knows that. But then somebody like myself would go, okay, really? So now I want you to walk out into the desert 50 yards. I want you to stop. And then I'm going to question everybody, what's out there? Because if what your concept is saying is true, we should all have the same memory all of a sudden. Right? Oh, it's a desert. Okay, but what is he looking at currently? Well, we don't know he's looking at anything. No, we told him to go out there and look at something. You just don't know that. So he is looking at something specific. What is he looking at? I don't know. Why not? Because he hasn't told me. Okay, so then that means there's not this this thing that's going to upload that into my brain for that visual thing to be into a thing. However, we do know, this is my whole purpose of telling you this. However, we do know that if you're in service to others, or if you're in service to self, and you start evolving and moving up on that side of the coin, either self-serving or in service to others, that there is a knowledge that both of those choices unlock in everyone who has chosen those paths. That is that. There is a knowledge, let me say that again. If you're in service to others, there is a knowledge at a certain point of your beingness frequency that unlocks certain knowledge that is common to everyone who reaches that level of beingness. And that continues to happen as you go up and up and up and up and up. On either side, the same knowledge. So there is something in the universe that is universal that is giving the same exact knowledge to all of the people who choose each one of those two paths. This we know to be true. Okay? Christy, welcome. Brooke is at work right now, Christy. I don't know if she popped in or not. I'm married to Brooke, in case you don't know who I am. I'm her husband. So Brooke tagged you, I'm sure, right? She tagged everybody before she went to work, so she's at work right now. I didn't see her pop back in, so she might have. But I'll tell her that you popped in, right? Got to get ready for lunch, right? with Cha-Cha and Mel, right? So, yeah. So, hi. Okay, so literally, there is a concept of that happening. But it's not, there's Niagara Falls. It's not, those are the redwoods. People come back and they go, you got to go see this stuff. It's really cool, man. I saw it. And then other people go there and they're still there and it stays there, right? Like there's that one big giant redwood that they carved out the center of, and people used to drive cars through it. They don't let you do it anymore. I don't even think they let you walk through it anymore. I don't know if you can walk through it anymore. But they used to do that, right? And it was there. And there's pictures of it from the back in the covered wagon days all the way to the vehicles of the 30s and 40s. I don't remember. I think it was the 60s when they stopped letting people do that. I don't know exactly when it was, so don't send me hate mail. But that tree stayed there. Someone carved it out for that purpose, and they sold that idea for people to come and do that, and sold tickets to go and do it, charging money to go and do it to make money. The tree stayed there. Did it stay there because everybody witnessed it? Right? Or was it there? Somebody carved it out and other people found it over and over and over and over. So are we to believe that one person who found the tree and carved it out had enough energy and power to hold that thing in place even 250 years after the person died? Or are things just created by the creator and they are the way they are and we discover them when we go and find them? In the physical, I'm going to answer that question for all of you out there. In the physical plane was created by the creator and it is what it is. We do not create it. We recreate it and we can shape it the way we want. We can take control of it and we can make it what we want. But it is what it is until we disturb it. In the spiritual is the same. It is what it is until we discover it. Why would it be any different? You have to realize that. Why would it be anything different? As below, so above, as within, so without, as without, so within. Everything is the equal and opposite. So if the physical plane is there and people go find something and discover it and take pictures of it and bring it back, and other people go out there and they don't see something different, that means that it's not viewer-created reality. Because we would each see reality through the lenses of how we see reality, not for how reality is. We already do that anyways. Our concept of what we see is based on our own personality and our own personal ideology and belief system. So we see things through the lens of our experiences to that date in that lifetime. However, if you take a snapshot of something, even if you have a concept in your mind that is different, without you telling that concept, you take a picture, someone takes the same picture from the same perspective 100 years later, they have a story of what they saw in that place and what it was to them. You take that same picture and now it's the same exact picture. Maybe one's black and white and one's color because technology has changed, but you were literally standing in the same place. You're going to have a completely different idea of what that place was. But if you don't tell anybody and they take the two pictures away from both of you, and then they hold them up in front of people and somebody walks up to an exhibit and they go, Half Dome, Yosemite. It says on here, 1942. Half Dome, Yosemite, 2025. You're going to look at it and you're going to go, black and white, color. Same thing. Ask the person who took that picture in 1938, what they witnessed there and what that meant to them. And then the same person in 2025, two completely different perspectives. But you don't know those perspectives. You're just seeing the two images and you're seeing black and white and color and the same exact thing. And you go, wow, you know what? I think those people were standing in the exact same spot. That's really cool. But you're not going to look at that and for the life of you, you're never going to understand and know what that person who took the black and white photo thought of that place and witnessed of that place. And you're also not going to know what that other person thought and witnessed because you're now witnessing and thinking it for yourself. Perspective again. So Half Dome just is. It's not created by that person who took the first picture. Okay? So the concept of what you need to realize is perspective again determines. Your reality is determined by your focus. We do not see reality for what it is. We see reality for where we are in our development at that moment. Your reality is a reflection of your memories and experiences and your state of mind at that particular second. You have to become aware of that because your personality being seen by other people and how they see you is determined that way when all those people are looking at you. It's not what you think they see you as because you have a different opinion of yourself. So my point here is even more poignant when you go and ask other people individually what they think of you, even though it's coming from each one of that person's own perspective and experience and memory, if there's a reoccurring theme that's happening that they're all saying about you, you should listen. Because they're all individuals with their own individual perspective, but yet they're all agreeing on how you are. And if it differs from the way you think they're seeing you, you need to realize that the underlying thing here of what they're saying, even though they all have complete different experiences to base what they're looking at you on, is all saying the same thing. If it differs from you, you need to change something about yourself, or you need to decide, screw all them. Because then it'll be determined by whether you're self-serving or in service to others. So we have to realize that with everything that we do, we have to, when people say, I saw this thing and it was this and that and that and this, you can't truly know that until you go see it for yourself. That concept is what flat earthers prey upon. Earth isn't round because you can't experience it round. Because the only way you can experience Earth to see whether it's round or flat is to go into space, but space doesn't exist, so you're not really there. Even if you go there, it's not true. And if you do go there and you come back, they're going to say you're lying and making it up because they didn't go there. And they stay on that knowledge. Someone learned that and they stay on that knowledge. You take a camera and you go up to Mount Everest and you take a picture of the Earth. They say the lens is concave, therefore it's an optical illusion. It's actually flat. If you go up there and you stand there and you look out and you got sunglasses on, your sunglasses are concaved. It's not true. You go up there and you look at it with your naked eyes. They say your lenses of your eyes are concaved. It's not true. But they can't prove to you that it's flat. So how do they know it's flat? If they're all saying it's flat, but you can't witness it flat, how do they know it's flat then? They all come up with this idea and tell you how it's flat, but they can't prove it themselves. Go and take a picture of the firmament for me. Film it. No one's ever been able to do that. You can't, because the firmament makes you turn to the right before you see it. And you'll never see it. You think you're going straight the whole time. And it'll make you go in circles and you'll go back where you were. You're not going around circles around the planet that way. You're just going in circles this way. How do you know that? If you can't witness it and nobody can witness it, where did you learn that from? There was this guy who sailed in a ship in the 1700s. It goes back to one person whose agenda was, I'm going to prove the earth is flat. And no one corroborated it. COVID was a disease that killed billions. Yet nobody was dead in the streets anywhere in the world. They only died in the hospital. No, there were homeless people that died. Really? Because I never saw any news camera going, we're going in and embedded with the emergency units as we're walking in with our hazmat gear, and we're told that there are 37 dead homeless people in here, and we're trying to go and get the bodies before everybody else dies from the disease. None of that happened. And I will tell you, in a half-heart second, if that happened, they would have been filming it and showing it to the world. They never did. Never did anywhere. Show it to me. We're on our way in. We're embedded with these guys, hazmat team going in there, and they're bringing out dead people. They've got 35 bodies out of the 42 people that live there, and they're quarantining everybody else. And now we're going to go downtown where there's another homeless camp where the same thing is happening. Never happened. Going into an apartment complex where they found 27 dead people in the apartment complex when they were all shut in because they didn't want to go outside because they were afraid, and they're all dead from COVID. And we got hazmat gear, and we're going in to see the dead people, and they've been bringing out bodies all day. None of that happened during COVID. No one noticed it. I did. I asked questions. Got deplatformed by Google. Okay, I love you guys. So let me stop there because it is after 6 p.m. I need to get off here and get myself something to eat. Kind of you to say. And for some reason, my phone just started to listen to me and start turning on and talking to me, like as if I was talking to my phone, I think because I said, okay. And Google thought I was saying, okay to it. Shh, got to turn my phone off. It's listening to me. All right, guys, I love you guys. We'll stop right there. Let me look at where I'm at so I don't mess up and not start there again. We'll start at 3 hours. I'll go to the 3 hour mark. It's 1:12 back, so it'll probably be the beginning of that, of number 17 there, right? So we'll do that. So I'll start at the 3 minute. Let me write it down here, and then I'll end it for the day here. Let me find where am I at here in the. I have it written down somewhere. There it is. Okay, so we actually did pretty good. We almost did an hour today. We started at 2 hours 15 minutes and went to 3 hours and 1 minute. So we almost made a whole entire hour of the Hermeticum today. That's actually pretty good. I let a lot of it play for a while so that we got through, right? So it was kind of cool. So we'll go to three hours in right there at that point and start from there. Okay, so I love you guys. This has been Orion Rising. I'm your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show. We'll be back next Friday at 3 p.m. West Coast America time. And we will continue with Corpus Hermeticum. We will be on part 6 next week, and we'll continue talking about this. So even thousands of years ago, let me sum up, even thousands of years ago, they understood the concept of what was going on. This is the whole point of me doing this. But what is it about the Hermeticum that they didn't want us to know about, that they wouldn't let people find it until we found it? They tried to ban it. They tried to burn it. They tried to destroy it. What is it about this thing? What is the underlying factor that I'm finding, that you guys are finding, that you should be finding, that they don't want you to know? What is it so far? We're 3 hours into a 4 hour video about the Hermeticum from reading the entire book. so far, what is it that is taboo information? Well, today, none of it. That's why it still exists. That's why we have it now and we're able to do this. None of it. We have the ability to read all this now. What was it at the time that it was taken down from? The only thing here that I can see that they'd be taking it down from is one, it was the monotheistic male-dominated God in the book that they're saying. They wouldn't take it down for that because that was what they were painting at the time, is the narrative. So what is it? What's the information that they're showing you so far that it is the information that got that book banned, that they would not allow people to read this information? And that's because it was pondering things and getting you to ponder things for your own. It was teaching you that there is a knowledge that you can learn that is universal, that comes to everybody when they go down certain paths. If you're in service to others and you dedicate yourself to that and you become more in service to people and you try to learn and you raise your vibration, you unlock knowledge that comes from the universe. If you're in service to self and you go down that path and you try to raise your vibration, being more self-serving, there is a knowledge that you unlock from the universe along your path. And that knowledge on both of those sides is common to everyone who reaches the same point in their existence, no matter who they are, no matter where they are in the world. And those knowledges unlock for you, but you can only unlock one side or the other. You cannot unlock both. That's the concept that they're trying to keep you from, is knowing that you don't need them to gain enlightenment in the world. That's what they don't want you to know. They want you to believe that they can give you the information. You have to come into their box and pay them a tithing, and they'll teach you what you need to know. Up next at 6 o'clock, we'll tell you what we want you to think. All right, guys. I love you guys. Have a great night. I will see you either in the chat or I'll see you next week. This has been, like I said, Orion Rising. I'm your host, Leonard O'Neill. See you guys next week.